and it's going to be a communist country.
Let's see if I could read 3 headlines without getting censored. Large-scale polio vaccinations begin in war-ravaged Gaza after first case in 25 years. September 1st, 2024. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine. September 2nd, 2020.
Or close.
And there's a lot of people listening to this, myself included, that doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
Well, she's a Marxist.
Her father's a Marxist.
That's right.
And she's advocating.
It's a little unusual,
She's advocating.
What's going on, everybody? Today, wish me luck because we're going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And we're talking about the fact that Associated Press has reported that Israel is temporarily stopping fighting in certain regions in order to get what they say hundreds of thousands of people vaccinated against polio because of an outbreak. So we're going to talk about it. I did an experiment on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube with a little short that I'll play in a second, and only TikTok deleted it. So TikTok censored this stuff. I want to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about that. And then this clip from Trump and Lex debating about whether or not Kamala is a communist was interesting to me. And then I have a lot of other things that I've been seeing around since I haven't been doing podcasts as much that I want to talk about. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you're here. Dreamer podcast starts now, and it's going to be a really good show. Stay tuned towards the end if you want to ask questions, because I'll look at what you guys are saying and I'll read them at the end. Appreciate you.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? We got people on YouTube. We got Facebook in the house. Marla, Giovanna, Abnormally Goza, Phaedra, Tracy. Appreciate you guys. Kelsey, Maggie. Thank you guys, especially the locals, and I wouldn't even say locals, but the usuals. You guys always find a way to get here and get here early. So I appreciate that. I think it's pretty hard to stay on top of my schedule. Maybe one day I'll change that and make it easier. But let's get into this story. I mean, I'm not sure, like every time I talk about this stuff, it's definitely a massive risk. Everything's a risk nowadays, but this has been the number one topic I've been censored about the most. They don't even want you to read these Associated Press headlines, and there's for good reason. I mean, check out some of these headlines. I mean, look at this one. I'm going to get to it in a second, but this is not me. I didn't publish this. This wasn't like Alex Jones or Tucker Carlson or whoever. It was Associated Press. They said UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine. I mean, just look at that imagery. Like they did that, not me. You know, I didn't write that. They wrote that, but we'll get into that in a second. What made me think of that, and I have to be very clear for the YouTube censors. I guess I really don't care at this point. It's like, do what you got to do. But in general, I'm not saying that this vaccine rollout is going to be the same as that vaccine rollout. That's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm claiming. It's not what I'm just saying what I'm saying, not what you think I'm saying. But anyway, that reminded me just visually of this other article that just came out. And I was like, wow, where did I see that similar sort of thing where like they're giving a kid an oral polio vaccine on a AP article? You know, it's very similar. And then I thought of the other one, but here's the new one. And let's get into what they're doing, because I hope people are listening. I mean, who knows how many people will tune into this? Probably when it's all said and done, tens of thousands of people, not live right now, but as the views roll in. But I like for this, just think critically with me. Okay. I don't care what you think about pharmaceuticals. I don't care if you're super pro-Israel or you're super pro-Palestine, or you don't care. You just want the US to stop spending money, or you think they're our ally, or you trust the UN. For this video, I personally don't care what you think or if you disagree with me on foreign policy. Just follow my logic and think critically. And then, I think we'll get to some sort of understanding where things are not making sense. So let's get into the article first. This is Associated Press. It came out a couple days ago. It says large-scale polio vaccinations begin in war-ravaged Gaza after first case in 25 years. So I was like, that's interesting. They're bringing that oral or some sort of oral polio vaccine to Gaza. Let's read the article, because what really stood out to me was the fact that Israel was willing to temporarily pause fighting, which they're very rarely trying to do. It says authorities plan to vaccinate children in central Gaza until Wednesday before moving on to the more devastated northern and southern parts of the Strip. The campaign begins with a small number of vaccinations on Saturday and aims to reach about 640,000 children. Gaza's health ministry said that more than 72,600 children received vaccines Sunday. That's a lot. The World Health Organization said Israel has agreed to limited pauses in fighting to facilitate the campaign. So, outside of the pharmaceutical situation, I want to really piece this together slowly, and then I'll get into the other stuff. Outside of what you think about vaccines or the oral vaccine or whatever, I don't really care. Let's put it this way. I've heard a lot from both sides. I've heard the leftist pro-Palestinian people, the right-wing pro-Palestinian people, the Zionists on the left and right who are super supportive of Israel, whether they're Christian or Jews. I've heard every talking point, right? And I'm not going to stereotype or rather generalize because there is a lot of nuance among the debate. But from the pro-Israel side, I've talked to a lot of people. I've read a lot of comments. I'm not saying everybody, because there is a pro-Israel side that definitely has a big heart and soul for what's happening to the kids in Gaza, and they don't want it to happen, but they understand it has to or whatever. But I do see a lot of comments like where people are just saying, we don't care, bomb them, do what you got to do. I saw Kid Rock go on Joe Rogan's podcast and basically advocate for killing tens of thousands of civilians. Literally, he said the word civilians. And he was like, if they can't get rid of Hamas, then it's their problem. Just kill them. And it's like, we can't even get rid of Joe Biden or, like Kamala, like maybe Kamala wins the election. I hope not. But it's like, what are you going to do? Just start mowing tens of thousands of Americans dead because your government sucks? Like, we can't even control our own government. 4 years of Donald Trump and people like Kid Rock go on stage and complain that the deep state won't let Trump do what he wants. Yet he wants to kill tens of thousands of people in a foreign country because they can't overthrow their government or something. Like, it doesn't even make sense. But this is the talking points that people are willing to go to because they really don't give a shit. They're like, do what you got to do, get them out of the way, kill as many of them as possible in order to get to Hamas. And, that justifies it because there's hostages for Israel. I've heard all these talking points where it's like, even in that article, it says that they're going into even more devastating area like later this week to give more vaccines. Why is the area devastated? I'm not pointing the finger at Israel. I'm just saying there's a war going on. You could say it's Hamas and Palestine and Israel and they're fighting each other. I'm not pointing the blame. I'm just saying like they're killing tens of thousands of people in those areas and blowing up like all their infrastructure in order to get their hostages or get Hamas or whatever they're doing. So you're willing to basically devastate an entire region, kill tens of thousands of women and children and random people that aren't even necessarily, affiliated with the organization that runs their government, that they haven't even had an election in 10 years and probably like just want the killings to stop. But anyway, it's like, you're fine with all of that, but you're like, you know what? That area that we pretty much blew up, that's like destroyed, let's just chill for a second, give these kids vaccine, and then return to blowing up the neighborhood. It's like, it doesn't even make logical sense. It's like, I've even heard from some people, I'm not going to say everybody, once again, I'm not generalizing, but the compassion for the kids stuck in the situation and the women and the random civilians is very low from the pro-Israel side. Like, I'll be like, I understand why you want them to defend themselves and this and that, but like, I've heard so many times, like, we don't, like, just do what you got to do, like, F those people, like, and it's like, okay, but then Israel cares so much that they just want to give them oral polio vaccines, right? Like, it's like, we got to do what we got to do to get our hostages, but let's slow down. World Health Organization, oral polio vaccine. We're going to just do our humanitarian aid and then get back to this brutal fight that we're doing. This is nothing to do. And I have to say this very clearly, not because I have to, but I want to. Like, when it comes to a video that I'm about to show you, I had some guy, of course, he had an Israel flag in the bio, so he's got loyalty to that country. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But he like takes it as a personal jab where it's like, I did reporting about Fauci, about Trump, about DeSantis, about Pfizer, about Moderna, about Johnson & Johnson. All over the world, I talked about what was going on in Israel, and I had the citizens back when the government was being tyrannical, whether it was in any like, I'm just calling it like I see it, but it's just so interesting that I could talk about my own country or other countries and the situation at hand, and nobody seems to get that offended by it. But the second I bring in Israel and I talk about this situation, they're like, are you saying this? Are you saying that? Is this what you're saying? I can't believe you said that and this and that. Are you suggesting this? It's like, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just having an intellectual conversation around it. I feel like they don't, it's just a very bizarre move. It's like when they lock the country down, the world down, they're like, everybody needs a vaccine and we care so much about your health. Has nothing to do with specific countries. It's just like, some of these scientists and doctors that are telling everyone to shut down, they don't even take care of themselves. And I don't want to get too sidetracked right now, but at the same time, I kind of do want to get a little sidetracked right now because I want to rant about this. I take care of myself. I try to. I'm not perfect, but I'm generally pretty healthy, and I focus on my health, my mental health, my physical health, and I'm trying to improve my diet because these are things I can control to better my health, right? There's stuff we all can do. I don't judge people fat, small, skinny, tall, you know what I'm saying? Short. Like, it's like your life is your life. You got to make the best with what you got. And, I've seen impressive people of all shapes and sizes. Even Lizzo used to be impressive. She was obese, but she's playing the flute. She's dancing. And I'm like, how could she be so fat and dancing so much? Like, I was a Lizzo fan, but everyone's like, she's fat. For sure, it's not good for your health. But at the same time, like, the fact that she is so fat and also able to move so much, like, as an entertainer, I'm impressed. I'm like, that big lady can move. She's up there, bang, 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 bang. But she's losing weight, and that's great. But anyway, I don't care. But once you start infringing on my life, all of a sudden I start caring. During the pandemic, they're like, we got to close gyms. We got to close beaches. And it's always these little twerpy liberal scientists like Peter Hotez, who blocked me on Twitter, who went on Joe Rogan to be like, oh, I eat chips. Oh, I cheat. I eat French fries. And Joe Rogan's like, how could you be a health doctor and not take your own health seriously? And he's like, yeah, I don't think of it that way. Of course you don't think of it that way, you little weasel, because you run around telling strong, healthy people that are mentally and physically healthy that they can't be mentally and physically healthy because you're trying to play Bill Nye, the spy guy or whatever, or the Democratic Party fly guy. What's his name? Bill Nye, the science guy. I used to call him Bill Nye, the Democratic Party spy guy, but the science guy is cool too. Like, these people, they think they're God, but so much so that they forget the most important thing, which is taking care of themselves. But anyway, it's another one of these situations. That was like totally off topic, but I wanted to say it at some point. But with this, I'm looking at everything, and it's like it's just all very strange. So here's the video that I posted on all social platforms, and it got deleted off of TikTok. TikTok censors the pharmaceutical stuff worse than any website. I don't know what's wrong with these people, but keep in mind, I'm gonna play this video, and then I'm gonna get more into depth. I did not write this. Excuse me. This is not Gateway Pundit. This is not Infowars.com. This is not, even like New York Post or Fox News. And I'm not knocking those websites. I'm just saying, like, this is Associated Press. The two most mainstream medias in mainstream media are Reuters and Associated Press. Like, if you could say who's the establishment within the establishment, they break all the stories. They're like the TMZ of journalism. They're there. They got the best photographers. Like AP, it doesn't get more mainstream than AP. Nobody, not Fox, not CNN, like, they're almost like above them. So I'm not writing these articles. I know I don't have to say this, but I'm just being clear. It's like, I didn't publish this stuff. They chose to publish these pictures in these articles. Let's look at the video that I made, and let's move into like some of these older oral polio vaccine articles that they've written that I'm literally just going to read aloud. And I feel like my chances of losing a lot of money and I would say momentum on social media increases by like 5,000% when you talk about vaccines or oral polio vaccines, and they don't even care if you're not doing anything but reading the article, or like, they don't care. They're just like, that we got to cover that up. It's like, but I just read the article. It's like, yeah, but that we can't have that. Why? You wrote it. I'm just reading it. Oh no, but not now. Why not now? It seems like a good time for me to read it. Let's look at it. Let's see if I could read 3 headlines without getting censored. Large-scale polio vaccinations begin in war-ravaged Gaza after first case in 25 years. September 1st, 2024. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine. September 2nd, 2020. More polio cases now caused by vaccine than by wild virus. November 25th, 2019. And just a quick disclaimer, Associated Press made those headlines, not me. So if social media sites, for whatever reason, want to cover up that information, talk to AP. It doesn't get more mainstream than that. I'm simply showcasing what they're publishing. So here's all 3 of the headlines, right? The 2 on the right I've seen multiple times. The one on the right, it was from 2019. It says more polio cases now caused by vaccine than wild virus, Associated Press. the one in 2020, it said UN, the United Nations, says that the new polio outbreak in Sudan is caused by the oral vaccine. And then, the picture reminded me of the one from Gaza. I'm not saying it's the same medicine or it's going to have the same results, but you get what I'm saying? Look at the 3 articles. Like I do the news so much that I remember things, and I'm like, wait, where did that come from? So let's look at this oral polio vaccine where they said that the biggest outbreak in Sudan was caused by the oral polio vaccine. Let's read the article, because like maybe the headline is just being dramatic and maybe like there's more context to it, because like there's no way this is happening and nobody reports on it, right? When have you heard this? Like, when have you heard a news report on this about Fox News, CNN, anywhere? Like anything mainstream? Like, this happened within the last 5 or 6 years as they're rolling out the COVID vaccine. I know it's a different vaccine. It's mRNA. It's not the oral vaccine. But it's like, why did no one notice this? Like, Associated Press is like, here you go. Here, everybody, this is happening. And I'm like, oh, this is happening. And then it's like shut down, censored. Whoa, don't talk about that. It's like, why? It seems like a perfectly normal thing to talk about. Let's talk about it. I mean, this has got to be the craziest headline and article that I've seen probably maybe in my entire career. Like, look at that picture of that kid. They're squeezing his cheeks. He's like, ooh, you could tell he's like scared out of his mind. And the headline reads, UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan is caused by the oral vaccine. That was in September. I'm just going to roll it back real quick. Sorry, I'm not trying to be dramatic with it, but I'm not. Look at that and look when it was. This is not from the 80s or the 70s. They always say like, oh, all the bad things in history and all the mistakes from farmers and stuff. It was all like we left it with World War II and like everything's better now. And it's like, yeah, no, this one's from 2020. This is within the last 5 years. This happened actually 5 or 6 months after lockdown. So if you want to have more faith in your pharmaceutical government lockdown, their pharmaceutical projects in Africa that they give these kids the oral vaccine, it seemed like it hit a little bit of a skid, if that's what you believe. Look at that headline. And if you're listening to this on my podcast, go watch the YouTube video or the Facebook or Rumble video, or go to my Instagram. Like, look at that imagery. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan is caused by oral vaccine, September 2nd, 2020. Let's read the article for context, right? I don't want to be out of context. The World Health Organization says a new polio outbreak in Sudan is linked to an ongoing vaccine-sparked epidemic in Chad, a week after the UN Health Agency declared the African continent free of the wild polio virus. So they said, you're free of the wild polio virus. And then they're like, wait, no, this is a vaccine-sparked epidemic. In a statement this week, World Health Organization said 2 children in Sudan, one from South Darfur State and the other from Gefeder State, close to the border of Ethiopia and Eritrea, were paralyzed in March and April. Both had been recently vaccinated against polio. The WHO said initial outbreak investigations show that the cases are linked to an ongoing vaccine-derived outbreak in Chad that was first detected last year and is now spreading in Chad and Cameroon. So they're admitting that a vaccine-caused outbreak is spreading in multiple countries, and that as you can see with the other headlines, at one point, it was like responsible for the most cases of that disease. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen in Gaza. I would hope that they made a better oral vaccine. After that happened, did they just use the same vaccine? Probably not. You would think they wouldn't, right? I hope not. I would like to just assume that they didn't. I have no idea. Look into it though. But in general, it's like, it's just, this is the stuff that makes me question everything, because here's the thing. When it comes to Israel and Palestine, I could say what I want for multiple reasons. One, I'm not controlled. I'm not biased. I'm not owned like all your other favorite, news analysts that are completely controlled and like totally not, always just playing games. But anyway, but also I never picked us. I was never super pro Palestine. I wasn't in the streets waving flags. I wasn't saying that they're 100% right about everything. I've kept it real the whole time. And here's the stuff that doesn't make sense to me. It's like Israel is willing to kill tens of thousands of civilians in order to achieve a goal, but they're just so desperate to vaccinate the 600,000. They just love the kids there so much, but just can't stop the fighting. Maybe not. I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me. And then on the Gaza side, it's like these people in Gaza and these people in Palestine have been telling you, Israel's so bad. Israel's so horrible. The West is funding them with weapons. the West is funding them with the weapons. But I'm just saying, like, the people in Palestine, the children, the women, the men, they're all crying on social media being like, oh, it's so evil, everybody's killing us. And then you're just going to line up for a polio vaccine and be like, yeah, they're so evil, but, let's just get 600,000 of our kids, because the same people that were saying that want to kill our kids, like all these groups, I mean, maybe they trust, like maybe Gaza trusts the UN or something because they've always had a good relationship with some of these other organizations. That's the only possibility I could think about, that they're like, Israel's so messed up and United States is so messed up, but the UN's got our back. Like that must be what they're thinking, because I know that there's a nuance there and there's different groups. But I just find it fascinating that like they're not at all suspicious that Israel won't really stop war and do a ceasefire for anything, but they're willing to temporarily do one to give your kids vaccines. And they all like, that doesn't seem a little weird to you guys? Like this is why with all the stuff, like it's the same thing with Ukraine and Russia. I'm not saying they're not fighting. I think people are dying. I think there is a fight. But Ukraine, a lot of it is good. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of it is probably safer than like Detroit and a lot of American cities. Like it's like, so where's all this money going? Where's all the fighting going? I'm not like watching a bunch of killings and stuff. That's not what I like to do. Like some people like to like deep dive and really see like footage of tanks and stuff. I'm not doing that. So I'm not going to be ignorant and just act like I know everything. But it's one of these things where it's like, I don't believe the reasons they're telling us. Like, I don't believe that randomly he just invaded Ukraine. I think we were funding Ukraine for years. There was a coup in Ukraine in 2014. Zelensky was on a television show called Servant of the People, where they basically brainwashed Ukrainians into thinking he was some like, random person who became a cool president. And then they made him that cool president. And he was like a Western puppet, and he sucked hundreds of billions of dollars out of America. And now his country's getting more liberal. They're getting more against the church, and Russia's getting more Christian. But all I'm just saying is in general, it's like, I don't believe I don't have like a huge dog in the race. Like sometimes people reject Ukraine so much that they turn to Russia, and then they're like, I love Russia. Russia's base, like Putin's awesome. People say stuff like that. And then you got the liberals that are like, Zelensky's awesome. He's a hero. Putin's evil. I'm not like, you could think what you want. Like maybe you like Russia, maybe you like Ukraine, maybe you're from Ukraine, maybe, like I'm not telling you what to think, but for me, I've always kept it neutral, not to play the fence. I just don't trust anybody. Like I remember one time Putin like tweeted something, or like there was some sort of like message he sent out where he was talking about all the countries getting together, like in the Arctic Circle. He was like, yeah, we're fighting, but in the Arctic, we'll all do our thing. And it's like, I don't know what these presidents and elites are doing. Like sometimes I think it's all a show and they're all working together. Other times I think they're really fighting. There's nuance there with Trump and Putin and people like that. But at the end of the day, like I'm not going to go out and like defend a country I'm not a part of. I'm American. I'm not Ukrainian. I'm not Russian. I'm not Israeli. I don't have dual loyalty, and I'm not Palestinian. I'm not hating on anybody. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but like I'm taking it slow when I report, because it's not like a sports game to me. People are dying. Our country's falling apart. Hundreds of billions of dollars have gone over there. Like our money's in the shitter. Like Trump is just as complicit as Kamala in some ways. People don't even want to think that way, but it's like the banks are really running the show. They're just throwing money at foreign countries. They're throwing our money, tax money, government money. Like our country's getting screwed. The middle class is turning into the lower class. The lower class is fucked. The upper class is now the middle to lower class. Like this country sucks. And we're just funneling money. Like we're basically just a piggy bank, and they want us all to be like good little tax cash cattle. And the second you have an opinion about any of the ways that they're just extracting trillions of dollars from you and giving it to other people, then they say you're just being hateful, or you're being racist or sexist or xenophobic or anti-Semitic or pro-Putin. They have a name for everything, because they just don't want the money to stop flowing to like 50 different places. It's flowing. So with all that being said, it's like, I just have my questions. I don't know what product they used. I don't know if it's a different oral vaccine. I don't know the success rate, because you have to say with Big Pharma, on social media, you have to be like, everything they ever do is perfect and they'll make no mistakes. And it's like, even if they screw up, they just act like it was this spontaneous mistake, and it's totally okay because they're God and you're just like a little lemming and they're smarter than you. And it's always the least impressive people doing this. It's always the sloppiest, like people that look like ticks and leeches and like little goblins. Like these are always the people that are telling you that like, oh, my bad. Like even with the whole COVID stuff for months, you couldn't talk about a lab leak theory. And you certainly can't talk about the other theories like terrain theory and stuff. But in general, it's like at first I made a video. It said, can viruses be man-made? And I said specifically, I'm not saying this virus is man-made. I don't know that I believe that. But like, here's the history of what I've researched about man-made viruses. They deleted it. And then 3 years later, they're like, yeah, maybe it was a lab leak. It's like, I'm not saying it was a lab leak. Some people believe that. Some people like believe terrain theory. But in general, if it was, I'm not saying it is, but if it was, oh, is that just a little oopsie? Do you know how many people died? Do you know how many like pharmaceutical scams happened? Do you know the lockdown, the physical, psychological, mental abuse, the economic destruction of our country, the money printed? Like I could list 100 things. They fucked over the world more than anyone has ever fucked over the world in my lifetime. And it's not even close. Like in the last 30 years, that was the biggest fuck you to the middle class. There's articles being like, oh, the working class lost trillions of dollars and the rich gained trillions of dollars. Oh, I bet that was a coincidence too. And Pfizer and Moderna just happened to strike gold. Oh yeah, wow, what a mistake. Oh my gosh, look at this virus. Oh, we're making all this money. Oh, you're losing money and the elites are gaining money. Oh, our bad. But we're still God and we're still better than you. And we still tell you what to do, even though we're all disgusting and we look like goblins and we've never lifted a weight in our life and we're little fat chodes. But like, you know, all you healthy people, we need to take your money and take your gyms and start wars and tell you that you're just being hateful and pass speech laws against, you know, the truth, because like you're the problem in society. It's like, fuck, excuse my language, but fuck you guys. And that's just where I'm going to leave this part of it. I am not, when it comes to Israel and Palestine, you know, I hope for peace, but I just find it fascinating that the one thing that seems to stop the war, essentially, at least for a part-time, is mass vaccination of the Gaza children. It's crazy to me that Israel and the World Health Organization are doing that to some extent. Maybe it's the WHO and it has nothing to do with Israel. I have no idea. But like that, it's crazy to me from both sides. It's like, that's what makes you want to stop the war. Now you're a humanitarian. And then on the other side, it's crazy to me. This is just my opinion. It's not medical advice or anything. It's just crazy to me that they're all like lining up for it. They're like, yeah, they care now. You know, they're gonna really. But it's probably their relationship with the United Nations, because the UN has always been, I think, pretty good to Palestine, probably better than America and Israel. So maybe they trust it. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not saying it's the same as the other oral vaccines. I'm not, but I just find it shocking. It's like, from my research, the past, you know, couple years, like there's articles that literally say that, you know, a lot of the cases were caused by the product. But of course, it's hard to report on that stuff because they just cover it up and censor it. So let me know what you think in the comments. I've said what I think, and it's probably the riskiest video I've made in the last couple months, because we all know what happens when you talk about that stuff. But anyway, let's move on to something else, and I want to talk about some overarching stuff. At the end, I'll read some of your comments and questions. Donald Trump sat down with Lex Fridman, and I really have a lot to say about Lex as well. And I'm going to be as respectful and honest and really just graceful as I possibly can, because I'm not trying to come across as anything other than, you know, accurate. And I'm not trying to be emotional or, you know, biased about it. So, you know, I have my thoughts about it. But let's get into this Trump conversation with Lex, because Trump calls Kamala essentially a communist. And Lex does his best to be like, well, you know, a lot of people, including myself, we don't think that Kamala is a communist. And Trump's like, well, she's a Marxist. And he's like, well, her father's a Marxist. And Trump's like, yeah. And Lex is like, her policies might be a little bit socialist, but that doesn't mean she's a communist. And to me, like, you know, I didn't see this whole interview because Lex annoys me and I can't watch him anymore. But, you know, Trump was cooking. Like, Trump seemed like he was being a little more honest about it. And Lex just seemed like he was on defense, like PR mode, which was an interesting enough clip for me to play. So here it is.
I don't know that there'll be another election, and it's going to be a communist country or close.
And there's a lot of people listening to this, myself included, that doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
Well, she's a Marxist.
So that's the first part of it. I had to chop it in because I don't want to get copyright stricken. So Trump's like, there might not be an election. Like, Kamala's a communist. And, you know, I talked to a buddy recently that, you know, he's apolitical for the most part, but he always struck me as more liberal. Even he was mentioning to me, we were just catching up, and he was like, dude, it's so crazy how they just did a coup on Joe Biden. Like, I don't even know if he's going to vote for the conservatives. I don't know if he cares. He might still vote for the Democrats. Maybe he won't. I didn't really ask about it, but I was shocked because, like, I know he tends to lean more left on a lot of issues. And even he was like, you know, that was a coup, what they did to Biden. And I was like, how so? I mean, I agree to an extent, but he was like, you know, they knew he was doing bad in the polls and they just replaced him like 2 or 3 months before an election. I know a lot of people aren't talking about that because, like, the world is so crazy, but that is a unprecedented move. Like, they used his age to their advantage, but you're not supposed to replace a candidate. Like, what if Trump was polling bad and they just changed him for DeSantis real quick? Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. There's a whole democratic process that they follow, and they're not following it. They're trying to impeach Trump. Trump almost got shot. God knows by who, Thomas Crooks or whatever, acting alone, as they say. But then it's like, all these things are happening. They won't leave Trump alone. They won't keep their candidate. It's like, I don't care what you call it. If you want to call it fascist or communist, I mean, I think it's more communist than fascist on the left personally. But as long as you know it's wrong, that's fine. But like, for Lex to be like, I don't know if she's really communist. We know, bro, because you're like the pseudo intellectual guy who just sits there and is like the total middle and total unbiased. And we all know. But, I think Trump's like, no, she's kind of communist, and I like this back and forth. Let's keep looking.
Well, she's a Marxist.
Her father's a Marxist.
That's right.
And she's
It's
advocating
a little unusual.
She's advocating for some policies that are towards the direction of democratic socialism, let's say. But there's a lot of people that kind of know the way government works, and they say, well, none of those policies are going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to...
I mean, a good interviewer does kind of play devil's advocate sometimes in order to give resistance. But I feel like, he's like, he said many people, including myself, think that she's not a communist. So, he kind of, it's his podcast. He can do whatever he wants. I'm just kind of analyzing it. Like, if he were to say some people said, and then ask these questions, it would come across as more like, oh, I'm just playing both sides. But he says, like, I'm on this side. Like, I don't think she's a communist. So now he's telling you, like, I don't think she is. So everything he says afterwards is really like a PR team. Like, I don't think she is. Like, yeah, she's kind of Marxist and her policies are like democratic socialist, but like, it's not really the full thing. And Trump's like, it leads to the full thing, which I believe is true. And let's play the last clip.
And they say, well, none of those policies are going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to, groceries are too expensive. We need them cheaper. So let's talk about price controls. And that's never going to come to reality.
It could come to reality. Look, I mean, she came out with price control. It's been tried like 121 different times at different places over the years, and it's never worked once. It leads to communism. It leads to socialism. It leads to having no food on the shelves, and it leads to tremendous inflation.
Thank you for the super chat, 467 Sprite. I appreciate the $2 super chat. In this economy, after tax, that's rough. Appreciate it though. I'm just kidding. Anyway, do you need to rewind? Yeah, you can rewind if you want to watch the Gaza part. I want to be as respectful when I say this stuff, because I always I don't like to make assumptions or say something that I can't prove. Sometimes people will just be loose with it, and there's a good element to that. But I believe that if you want to be a truther or tell the truth, you can't just be reckless and be like, well, I'm on the side of the truth and I'm going to just make stuff up. I'm very careful with doing that for that reason, because I want to be as respectful and accurate. But in hip hop and rap and pop music, there's something called an industry plant. If you watch any, I've been watching some documentaries about music, and I've been in the industry at least adjacent for pretty much since I was 19 years old. Everybody knows, it's not like a secret. It's more of a secret in politics than it is in music. But in music, everybody knows there's something called an industry plant or an industry baby, where the major labels want their artists to appear like they're independent, because major label artists don't always do as well. They want their acoustic guitarist to blow up on TikTok. They want the feel of it to be independent, because people like to rally behind personalities more, but they want to have the backing of major labels. So the name for it is industry plant. And if you were really curious about who's an industry plant in the music industry, there's probably hundreds of videos on it, and it's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. Everybody knows about that in music. In politics, I think people call certain people controlled opposition, and they all have certain opinions. And I'm just speaking for the consensus. Out of everybody in politics, certain people have popped up and been really successful. I'm not going to name names because I'm not trying to take shots here, but in general, I could think of a few. But to me, nobody played that role more in the eyes of a lot of the audience than Lex Fridman. When Lex Fridman popped up, I'd never heard that term used that much, but so many people, and I'm not saying it's true. It could have been his could have been his connections with Joe Rogan. He could have a great work ethic. He could have the right infrastructure, the backing, or maybe he backed it himself. I have no idea. So I'm not going to accuse anything. But I do think that, like, if you asked and took a poll, most people out of anybody that popped up, like, think that Lex is that type of like industry plant where it's like he just kind of popped up out of nowhere. He's getting these big interviews and like, you know, it just kind of like came out of nowhere. And then he's in everyone's algorithm. Like if I fall asleep, I'll wake up with a Lex Fridman thing or a PBD thing. And like, you know, when it comes to MMA, I'll go to sleep and wake up and Ariel Helwani's playing. I'm not saying they're all plants or anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just like, you know, Lex especially kind of came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden he's in everyone's algorithm, even though nobody's searching for him. It just kind of seemed a little suspicious, but I always gave Lex the benefit of the doubt because I like to judge a man by his fruits. Some people try to say, even with Tucker or Andrew Tate, like their father was in the CIA. Like, doesn't that mean that they're not trustworthy? And maybe, I mean, it's definitely something to consider, but I like to judge a man by his fruits. Like, you know, if Andrew Tate is doing something real, but he made mistakes in the past or whatever, like I don't like to let the left or the right or this or that people like make my decision for me. I like Tucker Carlson. I'm not following him in a political campaign, but I genuinely think that he's doing pretty good stuff. You know, I judge him by his fruits, and I think he's a net positive by far. Like, I think Tucker is awesome. But, you know, some people don't trust him because of his family and his past and whatever, and that's for them. But I don't hold that against people. You understand? So when it comes to Lex, I never held that against him, that everybody thought he was like an industry plant because he came out of nowhere. I was like, he's doing pretty good interviews and stuff. And then it's a personal experience. And, you know, I want to be as graceful and nice as I can about it. I was cool with Lex. At least it seemed that way. You know, we never met in person or anything, but it seemed like it was cool. And then I saw him interview Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Maybe he's going to change his name again. I don't know. But, you know, Ye went on Lex Fridman. And I thought it was a really fascinating exchange. And I noticed one thing, and I tagged Lex in it because I don't think I did it in a rude or like aggressive way, but I was like, hey, Lex, I even said, like, I really appreciate you and I've always liked you. But here's kind of my breakdown of like, you're being a little dishonest when it comes to the combo. Because with Ye, he kept saying, like, the whole interview, he's like, don't talk about Jewish people as a group, right? Don't talk about them as an organization or group. It's just a series of individuals, which, first of all, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of Jewish people who are just individuals, but there's also hundreds and thousands of like Jewish organizations that do things also, you know, but that doesn't mean everyone's responsible. But it's like, is the World Jewish Congress just a bunch of individuals? Like it's kind of like, are the New York Giants just a bunch of individuals standing on a field? Yes, sort of. But like once they get on the field and they all wear the same uniform, they're the New York Giants. So it's like, to sit there and act like there's no patterns or groups and you can't talk about it. Like, is CNN a news network, or is CNN just like a random assortment of individuals doing nothing? Like, you could call it what you want, but human beings have adapted labels in order to have like intellectual conversations. So I thought that was disingenuous. But then also I noticed that after telling Kanye that, or Ye, that, you know, like, oh, it's just individuals and like, you know, we're all just individuals. Then like 30 seconds later in the same interview, he's saying, well, this is my group. And you can't say that. What you're saying bothers me because I'm a part of this group. So that's when I noticed, like, as intellectual as Lex is and as honest as I thought he was, and I really liked him, I said, Lex, I just have a little issue, not really an issue, but like, I'm just calling your BS basically, where it's like, you're spending so long trying to convince everybody that there is no group, but then you identify with the group that you just said doesn't exist in order to get like a protection shield. So it's like, if the group exists for your protection shield, then it exists. It doesn't mean you're responsible for everything. And I've never advocated for blaming anyone for anything, but it's like, you know, these are the games that they play. Like, there's other people that do the same stuff all the time. And it's like, they don't want people to notice that there are groups and organizations doing something, on behalf of a political agenda or a foreign nation or an ethnic group. And then it's like, once you notice that it exists, they just start yelling at you. And it's like, I'm not blaming everybody. It's just like, that's like, so I just noticed that. I was like, you're saying the group doesn't exist, but then 30 seconds later, you're saying the group does exist. And Kanye needs to talk to you differently because your group is so special that they can't even have you say that to them. And it's like, it would be like a black person saying, like, I'm not black. There is no black America or black media or black rap. And there's no such thing. We're all just individuals with different ideas and different opinions. And there's no like cohesiveness to it at all. It's like, okay, But then it's like, and then if the black person said 30 seconds later, well, I'm a black man and you can't talk to a black man because I'm part of the black group that way. It's like, okay, well, now the group does exist. You know, like you just said it didn't exist. Now it does. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of black people really do that. Like usually the individuals do that, but the groups, they take pride in like the black group. They're not as like, it doesn't exist. Like, it does exist, but whatever. So anyway, once he kind of blocked me over that, and I saw how quickly he blocks people and stuff, it's all good. He has the right to block me for his mental health or whatever, his workflow. But you know, that's just with him. It's like like, how did he get there? Like, I don't know. It just seems very disingenuous to me. It seems like he's playing a game, and you know, once I see that, I'm just kind of like not interested. So with that, you know, I want to watch the full Trump interview, but it's hard for me to listen to the guy, but I wish him luck. That's just my kind of 2 cents about, you know, stuff that I saw. And on that note, I saw that, you know, this is an important thing. I talk about it a lot because there's other people talking about other things a lot. So it's not like there's no time for Kamala, but like, you know, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec, they're always on the Democrat versus Republican thing. And somebody's got to do it. Like, you know, Charlie and Jack post a lot of good things that I'm not paying attention to about Democrats and stuff. And that's all good. I'm just saying, like, the reason I talk about this stuff more is because I feel like it's such an important piece of the puzzle. And most people don't talk about it, but it's aging so well, and it's going to become mainstream in a couple of years if it's not already. Like, I'm going to mention another thing that I saw today that I find even more interesting than the election. But I'm voting for Trump. I'm voting all Republican. That's what I'm doing, if anyone cares. With that being said, you know, I saw Seth Dillon. He tweeted something about Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson interviewed some historian, and the historian talked about Israel and Palestine and World War II. And I haven't watched it in full, but I'm going to, because when the usual suspects like Seth Dillon and all his clan of like whatever they call themselves, I don't know, like they're like the DeSantis Zionist right wing or something that's always crying about everything. Whenever they're upset, usually somebody's telling the truth. So I'm probably going to listen to the interview now. But he's like accusing Tucker of like, oh, you're hosting a Holocaust denier, this and that. And like he's just throwing all these accusations at the guy that Tucker is interviewing. And I know Tucker Carlson from watching, like, I don't think he would have somebody like that extreme on. And even if he did, it's still free speech. But I'm just saying in general, like everyone in the comments is like, bro, you're lying. Why are you exaggerating? That's not what he said at all. That's not what he said at all. And then I saw some other lady there, Abby Libby, who's like, you know, one of those types too. And she's like, you know, I'm against censorship, but I really understand why, you know, in Germany, they started censoring people, or, you know, in World War II, because like, oh, these anti-Semites are so much, where it's like, she's against censorship, but at the same time, she's justifying censorship. I have no doubt in my mind, they've already started with the speech laws. Republican Zionists plan to censor you just as much as liberals and communists. I'm going to say that again, not being hateful, not being disrespectful. The Republican Zionists are fine with censoring you just as much as liberals and communists. And the Seth Dillon types, to me, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's not done good work, but to me, it just reeks, you know, I don't even know what I'd call it, because I don't want to call him controlled opposition and be disrespectful, but it's like, this guy is such a sneak. Like, he just sits on the right doing generic right-wing stuff. And the second Tucker Carlson interviews a historian who slightly shatters his foreign policy, his bias, and his, you know, like, but like now all of a sudden he's crying hate speech and, oh my gosh, I can't believe Tucker interviewed him. And it's like, why don't you sit down with that historian? He'd probably blow you out of the water and make you look fake. Like, what's up with all these right wingers that freak out all the time when people interview people? What's up with all these right wingers all the time justifying censorship? You know, when I was gone and taking a break, I saw Michaela Peterson, God bless her soul. She made a whole video and she said, I'm for censorship on X. I'm for it. I want it, because I'm getting ratioed on Twitter by anti-Semites and, you know, really bad people. And it's like, they can't win the intellectual dialogue. They can't win the debate. For the first time in their life, they're unpopular after being pampered for 5 years. And now they're all pro-censorship. Now they want to shut everybody down. Now they're smearing Tucker Carlson. It's like, Tucker Carlson is 20 times cooler, better, more honest, more useful than Seth Dillon. Seth Dillon just sits on the wall, waits for anybody to get, you know, a little bit close to something that he doesn't want them to talk about. And then he starts hurling leftist type accusations at you. Anti-Semite, Holocaust denier, this, that. And the thing is, like I said, I highly doubt, and I'm going to watch the full interview to be clear, I highly doubt that Tucker would allow somebody on his show, especially Tucker, to go like that hard on the topic. Like, I don't see that. Maybe like eventually he'll allow somebody to have a debate with him or something, but like, Tucker's really not that guy. So it's like everyone in the comments, like, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. Of course, he probably didn't say that, because it's like Tucker wouldn't do that. But at the same time, like, if someone talks about Israel and Hamas and doesn't do it exactly like Ben Shapiro, all these right wingers get mad. If Tucker has on somebody with World War II, and like, I think he probably, it looked like from what I was reading that he was questioning Churchill. It's like all the smartest people I know say that Churchill sucked. You know, like American media and British media tell you that Churchill was the greatest president ever. I'm not a history buff. I mean, there's certain things that I really know and other things that I don't. But from all the smartest people I know that know history a lot and really research it and don't just believe what they heard in school, they all say Churchill sucked. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. Maybe Churchill was amazing. Maybe he sucked. But you know what you won't see me doing? I'm not going to just start exaggerating and being like, oh my gosh, Tucker Carlson interviewed somebody that has different history than me. Oh my gosh, they're so hateful. Oh my gosh. And it's like, I guarantee the interview was awesome. It was probably just a guy questioning history. But the problem is, and this is what I said with all the stuff, I don't care like what people think and what they do, but the Zionist Republicans, they have all the same censorship tactics as the left. And it's the same thing as the left, where like the left will even censor their own. You know what I'm saying? If you're a Zionist Republican who is like pro free speech and you're willing to let people have these discussions, they'll get mad at you. It's the same thing. Like, it's not like everybody's in on it and everybody's bad, but it's like on the left, they censor. And then you got the socialists and the Marxists and the communists. And it's like, you look at communist regimes, they always kill each other. They always screw up. They always mess up the food, because it's a bunch of idiots running the country. Like, could you imagine all these left-wing idiots running everything? They're just like the cities. They're going to screw it up. And then they're going to just blame each other. And, that's how it goes. It's the same thing on the right. I'm not acting like it's one cohesive group that's all on the same page. It's like, even if you have foreign policy that disagrees with me, if you're 100% pro free speech, they're going to come down on you. If you're 100% no more foreign aid for Ukraine or Israel, they're going to come down on you. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Go Google how much money Israel's gotten over the last 70 years. Go Google how much money Ukraine's gotten. Add up that money. That's more money than you'll ever see in your life. That's more money than most companies make. That's more money, I believe, than even Elon Musk has. Like, they're sending hundreds of billions of dollars over there. You think they want you to question their business, which is, the government in foreign countries just funneling money to other countries, other people, wars, weapons manufacturers, whatever. That's why they get so pissed off. So the second, even if you're totally ethical, you want to help these countries, you want to, even if you're against Iran and for Israel, it's like, how much so? How bad do you want to censor anti-Semitism speech? How bad do you want to shut up Tucker Carlson having a historian saying Winston Churchill sucks? Because when, finding out that Winston Churchill sucks is like, once you figure that out, you start realizing you got lied to. And that's why the Seth Dillons of the world are so upset, because it's like, I don't even know what the guy said, but I can't wait to listen to it later. And it's like, he's probably just poking holes in the bullshit history that they taught us in school. And once you poke a few holes in the bullshit, it all falls apart. It's the same thing with like the lockdown. Like it all it takes is like one aha moment, and then their whole force masking, lockdowns, this, that, like it's all insane, So it's like, the truth doesn't fear somebody questioning like a historical talking point from the 1920s. It's the same thing with, they just did a documentary on Twitter that I'm helping to promote, because I'm in a new documentary by the same director. I'm also a part producer. I'm just going to be transparent because I'm not a liar, but I didn't like edit and produce the film completely, but a lot of the concepts and like some of the other stuff and the promotion I'm doing. So I'm getting a production credit, but I want to give full credit to Justin Malone Pictures and Ryder and his team that's really editing and doing all that stuff. God bless them. But in general, it's like, I got a producer credit. I'm an actor in the thing. It's about G. Edward Griffin, Yuri Bezmenov, and communism and stuff. I have a new documentary coming out. I think it's going to be a smash hit, and I'm super excited to, bring new information to that platform. But anyway, I'm promoting their old film, Uncle Tom 2, because I'm just friends with them and they're good people. And, we're moving together as a unit. So if that documentary does good, this one too. But when it comes to Uncle Tom 2, it's a really interesting documentary. Even if there's parts that you disagree with or whatever, watch that documentary. And I'm not just saying this, like there's so many historical clips. Justin and his team, Chad and everybody, they go into the archives and they like really like find historical clips from Black America from like 1800s, 1900s. I know a lot of stuff, sometimes I seem like I act like a know-it-all. I absorbed so much information from that like a sponge that I'd never heard, and probably no one's seen, because they like really had to find historical archives to even find these clips. Go watch that, because it goes through the history. And I just wanted to say real quick, YouTube, it was getting a lot of views, and all of a sudden YouTube put you got to be 18 years or older to watch this video. But you don't have to be 18 years or older to watch some degenerate rap video that has like totally crazy stuff going on. So they're trying to hide this documentary, because what it does is it pokes little holes in the narrative of Black conservatism and the civil rights movement. And it goes through the history of Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. Booker T was a conservative. Booker T was like the pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of Black guy. And W.E.B. Du Bois was like a rich intellectual liberal. And the NAACP, it goes through all of that, but it just shows how we've been lied to about that. And that's a scary thing for the elites, or for anybody that really wants to like cover up history. Like, they don't want you to not believe everything they told you in school, because like that's why they hurl accusations at you. Oh, you're racist. You're racist. It's like a Black person who disagrees with you is racist about themselves because they like Booker T. Washington more than W.B. Du Bois. It doesn't even make sense. But like, you start to see, like, they tell you that they fixed America. They're like, oh, Martin Luther King, we fixed America. What? Look at all those cities, Jackson, Mississippi, whatever. Like, the crime rate's astronomical, the poverty's astronomical. In many cases, the businesses are doing worse. Black and white businesses and everybody's businesses are doing worse when it comes to inflation. You used to have a middle-class job, you can afford a house. Now you have a middle-class job, you can get a box and get back to work. Like, something's going on in this country. It's not to blame a certain group or anything. It's just like, can we reevaluate what happened? Because all this talk of like, they brainwash you in school to be like, all the ills of the world ended after the civil rights movement. All the ills of the world ended after World War II. And now like everything's like better than it used to be. And like, you know, they're racist. Like the founding fathers were super racist. And these like, you know, disgusting, obese, like blue-haired liberal chicks, they'll rewrite the Constitution for you. And New York Post will tell you that the Constitution sucks. Like, anybody with like common sense or whatever can look at all that stuff and be like, all right, I'm being lied to. So check out Uncle Tom too, because they're trying to cover that up too. But the reason that I am talking about this is because anybody that really doesn't want you to revisit history, they freak out when somebody revisits history. It doesn't matter how honestly you're doing it or how casually you're doing it, and you're not going like Seth Dillon, in my opinion, he's the type of person that he can't hang in an intellectual debate about these topics. He couldn't sit on a stage with Tucker Carlson or these guys about these topics. So he's got to smear them, because he's like, if people realize that Winston Churchill sucked, what else are they going to think? And then like his little minions are like, oh, I'm against censorship, but I see why they did it. And then Michaela Peterson's like, I'm for censorship on X because I'm getting ratioed. It's like, yeah, of course you are. You know, of course. So what are you guys? Like, what's the word that we should call you? Like, I'm not going to say controlled opposition necessarily, because everybody has their own opinions and it's okay to have diversity of thought. But it's like, I've figured this out in 2019, and I'm going to say it again, respectfully, peacefully, no malice or anything, because when I talk about liberals, I don't hate people as people. I just don't like their ideology, and I think it's dangerous for the country, right? I think getting rid of the First Amendment is dangerous. So it's not a personal thing with liberals or other people or whoever. It's just how I feel. Republican Zionists are going to want to censor and smear as much as liberal communists. They've been doing it for 5-6 years behind the scenes. It wasn't until it became mainstream and people started realizing it after the war, after they did it to people that were bigger. They've been doing this stuff. They want to keep this Ben Shapiro conservatism. They want to keep this, you know, like toe the line conservatism. Matt Walsh will do just enough, but not every, like, that's all they want. Anytime Tucker has somebody on like that actually says something different, they swarm like vultures because they're just like, oh my gosh. And then they start hurling crazy accusations on you. Why are they hurling accusations on Tucker Carlson of Holocaust denial? I saw that multiple times in the comments. They're justifying censorship against Tucker Carlson. This is the Babylon Bee guy. Basically, he's not doing it, but people in the comments justifying censorship. He's calling him what happens if you're those labels, right? Let's take all the labels that, you know, essentially that people like Seth Dillon are hurling onto Tucker Carlson, not directly, but indirectly saying your guest is doing this, your guest is doing this. That's your responsibility as a publisher at this point when you're publishing on social media. you take the hit of whatever the person says on your platform. So if they start using these words and labels and, like vaguely saying these things just in the way that they could be like, well, I'm not saying it. I'm not really saying it. I'm not saying all that. I'm just like saying this. What happens if those labels stick to you that they're trying to get to stick to you when they're piling on you? You could lose sponsors. You could lose your social media channel. You could lose donors. You could lose everything. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, people know that. That's why when I talk about this stuff, it's not like using these like oh, he's a racist, a sexist, and a xenophobe, and he's denying, my history as a Christian. Like, it's like, can you explain? Can you explain why you're so upset with what they're saying on the show? They're upset because Tucker, apparently, just from what I'm reading, he's poking holes in history. That's the scariest thing to some people, because it's like they need you to believe everything they told you, because the second that you don't, and with the left and the right, it's like, yes, I vote all Republican. I'm voting for Trump. I don't believe they're exactly the same, but there's levels to the levels to the levels. So it's like they don't really care that much about certain topics as much as you realize. Like, I brought this up multiple times because it's the easiest way that I can explain that makes sense to everybody. Someone like Alan Dershowitz, he's been a Democrat and he's making videos now saying, I might be a Republican for the first time. Why? Well, because of the Israel thing on college campuses. Okay, so the border didn't make him want to be a Republican. Trump getting persecuted didn't make him want to be a Republican. Not 2016, not 2017, not 2018, not 2019, not 2020, not the pandemic, not the lockdown, not the mandates, just this. So that's the topic that he cares about. Then he'll swing to the other side. There's a lot of people like that are donating and big in politics, where they're just, whether it's left wing or right wing, it doesn't necessarily matter about the wings. It's like, can we get these people to do what we want them to do? The pharmaceutical industry, they want Democrats to win probably, but they don't care that much if Republicans win, because look what Trump did for them. Nobody's really going to stop them. Maybe now that they messed up so bad, they might, but this is the game that certain people are playing. So it's like with Republicans, like, what do Republicans like? The Republicans like Trump, American flags, like talking the border closed, like, these are things that Republicans like. So there's people that are like, give the Republicans that, but make sure when you give them that you get to tell people where not to go. And the second that someone like a Tucker Carlson or someone like a Candace Owens or someone like, even Charlie Kirk, if he says too much, like, scoot them back towards this, because like we need them to stay in this frame. In order to be an American patriot that's a nationalist, you also have to give billions of dollars to a foreign country, pass speech laws for them, and smear Tucker Carlson when he has a good guest on that questions history. Like, that's what it means. That's not what it really means to be a Republican. But if you look at all the infrastructure of the Republican Party and the podcasts and the big media, probably 90 to 99% of it is Zionist. There's like no one that isn't completely Zionist in the sense of like, they don't want to talk about this stuff. They're so pro-Zionist that they're actually willing to make exceptions for free speech. Like, yeah, I'm for free speech, but I see why they did it in World War II. Like, I see why they censored, because there's so many people that think things I don't want them to think and like that. And then it's like, okay, that's a little not conservative. And it's like, yeah, I want the economy to be better and I don't want to give money to Ukraine, but we want to give money to Israel. And like, we don't believe in speech censorship, but when we pass anti-Semitism laws that has Jesus's name in the speech law, that's not really censorship, because it's like not really a crime. But that's where I'm saying that, like, if you look at Republicans, they'll pass dozens of anti-Semitism speech laws. And I've read the whole law. I've almost memorized it to this point. I know the words and the phrases that they don't want you to say. It's a global decision that has been made, and it's being passed all around the world. France, Germany, Spain, Brazil. Like, you Google IHRA anti-Semitism speech laws, pick a random country or city, and the chances are it's already been passed there. These are global anti-Semitism laws trying to define anti-Semitism as a list of no-no phrases and words that you can't use. Okay. So Republicans pass it in America, and DeSantis passes it, Trump passes it, and everybody justifies it until it gets so big. Like, Charlie Kirk knew about this, Ben Shapiro knew about this, Matt Walsh knew about this, but they didn't say anything until 5 years later, because it got so big that now they're at risk of losing their trust from you. So they're like, I got to talk about it now because it got so big and I'm against it. Okay, well, they're all still being passed. Okay, so they're in American law, and the Republicans will tell you, the ones that are liars, they'll say, it's not a speech law because it's not criminal. It's okay. Then what is it? I know what they all are because I've studied them all. Some are to crack down on college campuses, the speech. Some are to cut down on the funding. If any company isn't subservient to Israel, then they'll cut the funding with government or funds from wherever they're getting them when it comes to universities, or, they have like little ways that they put it into law. So now in America, your company doesn't even have to be loyal to America. You could hate America. Like, there's loyalty laws in America not to be loyal to Christianity, not to be loyal to America, not to be loyal to the documents that our country runs. You need to pledge your loyalty to a foreign country, or you can't get a contract. So in America, there's loyalty laws that in order to get certain money, you got to pledge it. Is it a speech contract? No, it's not. It's not directly infringing on the First Amendment, but it's rigging the system to allow for censorship and to punish anybody that doesn't have an idea of worshiping a foreign country. And then when you go to Florida, there's little ways he's putting it into schools and bills, and and then here's the thing. The Republicans will say, well, we're not arresting anybody for free speech, because they can't. But if you look at like all the other groups that are pushing these speech laws, go look at there's dozens of liberal Jewish groups pushing these speech laws as well. I don't know what their affiliation is politically, because I don't think they have one, but the World Jewish Congress president came out and essentially said, I'm going to paraphrase, but if you look at his quotes around the censorship, he's calling for the increase of censorship and the criminalization of censorship. He's like, in certain countries, they're saying that it's a crime. And it's like, that's good. Like, essentially paraphrase, we need more of that. So it's like the Zionist Republicans are basically working in unison with liberal groups that they claim to hate and be against, because they're the politicians that they support, like DeSantis and Trump, are passing the speech laws for their donors. Then they say it's anti-Semitism to say that the donors are passing it. Then you have Republican news sources like Free Beacon and others that say that they're Republican or whatever, the Zionist news sources. Then they start smearing you and writing articles and calling you an anti-Semite and saying, trying to threaten you and pressure you and say, oh, you're an anti-Semite because you said that there's Zionist donors that, pay politicians to do things. That's what it is. They give Trump hundreds of millions of dollars and Republicans hundreds of millions of dollars. And then they stand there while he passes the anti-Semitism law into an executive order, and they're right over his shoulder. Is that not what's happening? It is what's happening. So it's like, once you figure out that it's happening, it's not even left wing, it's Republican media that will publish the article. And then that article will end up in liberal media. They're working in unison. The fake Republicans are working with the liberals they claim to hate. We're not for censorship. We're just going to pass this speech law that's a crime in another country, while 20 liberal organizations and 20 groups of a certain ethnicity that you can't talk about are openly saying that they want that to be a crime in America. Oh yeah, but they're totally on our side. And then they're on Twitter, like the chick Abby Libby, saying, oh, I'm not for censorship, but I understand why they did it. You do? What part do you understand? You don't want people to question history? Tucker Carlson's guest was getting touching too many topics you didn't want him to talk about. I'm not for censorship, but I get why they did it. Guess what? I'm not for censorship. And every time they do this historically, they always try to shut people up for saying something that they don't want to hear. And it's not rocket science, and it's not racism, and it's not anti-Semitism, and it's not hatred. But if you look at America, where are the speech laws most prevalent? It's not rocket science, folks, and it's not something that's specific to Jewish people. I'm not saying it is. If you go to Saudi Arabia, what are their speech laws? It's for the elites who have all the money and the oil money. They make you respect them extra much. And then it's for their God. It's not a science. The people with the money make the speech laws. If you go to the United States of America, what's the number one thing that has censored me the most? Pharmaceutical. Who's the biggest sponsor of television? The pharmaceutical industry. Who's the number one sponsor of the politicians? The pharmaceutical industry. Who's making the most money from, the $10, $20 billion, $30 billion socialist warp speed deal? It's $100 multi-billion trillion operation. So that now the pharmaceutical industry lobbies the politician to say, you don't live in a Christian country that has Christian speech laws, or you don't live in a Muslim country that has Muslim speech laws, or you don't live in a Saudi country that has elite king speech laws. You live in a pharmaceutical communist hellhole where you can't criticize us because we don't want to be questioned. We don't want our vaccines to be questioned. We don't want our lockdowns to be questioned, or masking to be questioned, or science to be questioned. So now that becomes the law of the land. It's now because of social media companies and the major networks and the NFL and all them are playing ball with the pharmaceutical. It's not because they're right all the time. It's because they have the money. It's so obvious. So it's the same thing with certain donors. I'm not saying there's no donors of any other ethnicity. It's just who's Trump's biggest donor. I'm sure Peter Thiel's probably up there, but Miriam Adelson is giving Trump over $100 million, $100 million. And you know what she's saying on stage? I want you to get the West Bank for Israel, or I want you to get this land for Israel. Okay, am I not allowed to say what she just said? Now it's anti-Semitism for me to say, and it's not liberal media that's going to publish it. It's going to be Zionist Republican media that's going to do a smear job on you, and then they'll toss it over or throw it out there so the liberals could pick it up as well. They pass the speech laws. They justify the speech laws in politics, and then they act shocked when other countries are criminalizing it and liberals want to go further. They're both working in tandem, whether they know it or not. So, you know, I'm just being honest about it. It's like they're not censoring this stuff because they care so much about Israel or they care so much about Jewish people. They don't. It's not helping either one. In fact, I would say the PR for Israel has like the last year has been worse than it's probably ever been. So it's like, why is it not working? Because people in the United States of America don't like speech laws. They're not there to protect people. It's just there to, you know, basically people that are doing big deals, they don't want their big deals to be questioned. They don't want people to have conversations about it. So they've conducted a list of rules and laws that it's like, yeah, don't say this, don't say this. Like literally, like just read the law. It says like, you can't say these people own banks. You can't say these people own media companies. You can't say these people own politicians or run politicians. You can't say these people killed Jesus. You can't do blood libel. And it's like, I don't even know what that means yet. Every year Ben Shapiro's like on Twitter, oh, Aaron, blood libel. Anytime you like, Ben Shapiro is an American, and anytime you question the government of Israel, he screeches and screams blood libel. Like, you can't suggest they ever did anything on purpose. Like one time they killed a humanitarian truck and like some chef who had like multiple of his employees murdered. You know, he was coming out and be like, I think they did it on purpose because, you know, our thing was checked and it was obvious that we were humanitarian. I don't know if it is or not. I'm not here to defend that chef or say it was Israel or it wasn't. I have no idea. And I'm not going to pretend like I do. But I do know that Ben Shapiro called it blood libel. He called it blood libel. And that's one of the speech laws. Isn't it weird that Ben Shapiro's Twitter almost like, you know, multiple times he just tweets out anti-Semitism speech laws? It's so obvious what's going on. So, you know, in general, it's like, I hope Trump wins, for this election, and Kamala sucks. And I think that Trump is the real leader of the country. But, you know, people got to pay attention to this stuff because I barely use social media anymore. Like I'm trying to work smart and not hard and keep my mental health strong. I felt great. I've been on a diet recently as well. I haven't been eating pork. I've been eating a lot less. I've been doing more cardio, and I haven't been drinking alcohol. I was never an alcoholic or a drunk. I just drank more than I used to never drink. Like I went years without drinking alcohol, and I would just have a few every now and then, but it's just the health aspects of it. I wasn't even like a drunk. It's just like that much liquid in my body all the time. So I feel great. Life is good, but I'm just saying, like, I barely use social media, and I come on to see the founder, the CEO of Babylon Bee, smearing Tucker Carlson for him having a historian who questioned Winston Churchill, throwing crazy accusations at the guy and Tucker. And I'm not saying this to brag, but like I've been on this shit for 6 years now. Everything I said in 2019 is aging well. And no matter who understands it now or who gets mad at it now, it's going to age well because I'm not lying. I don't have an ulterior motive. I'm not being rude. I'm not hateful. I don't hate any country. That's the thing. Some people are hateful. They hate this country. I don't hate Israel, and I don't hate Palestine. I don't hate Ukraine, and I don't hate Russia. I was not raised to be a hater, and I don't hate anybody. I'm not a nasty person. I know there's good people in every country. My intentions are not to scale the war one way or the other. I'm an American citizen. I'm going to speak the truth about countries getting hundreds of billions of dollars from America. I know how I've been smeared in the press. I know who did it. I know, every time they write articles, it's always me being right and them trying to tell me that I'm wrong. Here's another thing too. I'm not trying to play the victim, and I don't care at this point because the press is nothing, but it's like, I've been doing this I've been rapping since 2008, but I've been making political videos and doing well since 2016, right? I don't think I've ever gotten an article, and I'm not complaining because I don't even care. I'd rather not be in the press anymore because they have nothing good to say. But in general, they never wrote a single article. Wow, this kid with no budget no overhead, no advertising, no, no team, no editors, no anything, by himself. Got millions, billions of views, over 1 billion views, millions of followers. The first time that they wrote an article about me was in 2020 that I saw. It was in NPR, and NPR called me a conspiracy theorist because they had the internal data and they found out that I shared a link that was the number 2 or 3 most viewed link on all of Facebook. Facebook at the time is the biggest social media in human history, and I'm number 2 on the biggest social media in human history with no budget, with no marketing deal, with no company. I'm not spending millions of dollars on my employees like these other people. That's why they start talking about me, which I take as a compliment. Like, I can't get a Pulitzer because you got to lie to do a Pulitzer. They delete your videos if you deserve one, and then they give it to like New York Times or something. But in general, it's like they just, once they realize that I'm doing well and they're not helping me, they just try to make me look crazy. They did a NPR article and said I was a conspiracy theorist who thinks that the government's using COVID for control. And then as soon as it comes out in NPR, Chelsea Clinton tweets it. And it's like, oh my gosh, this conspiracy theorist. It's like, that's a little weird. Okay, I move on. I become one of the most successful news people in the country. Nobody wants to sign me because they're all sneaks and liars or whatever, but totally not. But whatever. Every company that is a podcast, like independent, it's all bullshit. But anyway, it's like, then fast forward, it's like I interview Vivek and then they freak out again because it's like, holy, who is this guy that just interviewed one of the bigger president candidates in the country? Like, how did he get that opportunity? And it was Republican Zionist media that started the smear. Not liberals, not the Democrats. It was Republicans, because that's who they are. They literally sit at the gate and they're like, we need to convince these Christians, these Americans, these Republicans, we need to trick them. We can't allow these type of conversations. We can't have somebody that's sitting there saying that big donors in this category are controlling the Republican Party, because it's literally true. I'm not anti-pharmatic. It's just like big pharma is controlling a lot of things too. And I'm not a fan of it because it's at the detriment of our country. I'm not picking out people randomly because I have like a bias. It's just like, who are the biggest donors in the Republican Party? One of them's Peter Thiel from Palantir. I don't know what ethnicity he is. He's gay. I know that. But then it's like Miriam Adelson. And the Adelson family gives Trump a bunch of money. I'm not against it. She seems like a really nice lady. I'm sure we'd get along. It's just like, she gives him money to get things for Israel. I can't say that. I say that. And it's like, she says that in her own words. Like, she's on stage, like, let's get the land or whatever. And I'm like, all right, they're getting the land. Like, no, you can't say that she said that, because that's the dual loyalty trope. You're not allowed to say that a single Jewish person in America likes Israel as much or more than America. Am I not allowed to say it because it's not true? No, you're not allowed to say it because it is true, and they don't want people to talk about it. It's not everybody. It's not even necessarily like that crazy to me. Like, I understand why people would have multiple loyalties everywhere, but when it comes to China, they freak out. When it comes to that country, it's just status quo. They freak out at you if you're not that. So it's like, I don't have loyalty to any of my, like, Poland, Italy. Like, I would like to visit there, but I have no loyalty to the government. I'm not paying Trump $100 million to do something for Poland. Like, they wouldn't allow that. I don't even have that much money, so I can't do it anyway. But I'm just saying, like, if I did that, people would be like, oh, you're lobbying the government for that country. But in America, it's like, if you don't lobby the government for that country, then you're hateful. It's like, I'm not hateful. I'm not blaming too, because there's like, everybody deserves responsibility. And it's like, this country has a lot of issues. It's not one person's problem, but it's like, this is, to me, seeing this type of stuff, and like Tucker's doing better and better interviews. And now you see what I'm saying? Like, Tucker was on Fox News, right? He's got to play the Fox game. Tucker did a good job for being on Fox. He did such a good job that they threw him off Fox News because Tucker Carlson was too real for United States television. So then Tucker Carlson does what, no offense, but Bill Riley couldn't do. Bill Riley went off television, and he became wildly irrelevant. Nobody cares about Bill O'Reilly anymore. I'm sure he makes money, but socially, culturally, no one cares. Tucker goes off the television, and he starts doing cooler and cooler interviews. He's getting better and better guests. He's getting more edgy. And who's providing the backlash? Liberal media and the Seth Dillons of the world. Isn't that interesting? It's the Seth Dillons, the Ben Shapiros. They just hate it. God forbid a Fox News host gets out of the Fox News and starts doing more stuff. I mean, wow, he's being really hateful now. You know, these, like, I'll vote the same way as these people for the election, but whatever that is, that's not my brand of conservatism. You could like another country, you could support, but like once you start smearing people with crazy labels and then being like, I'm against censorship, but, you know, in the comments, people saying that I'm against censorship, but I see why they did it in World War II, because it was like super necessary. And that, you know, like people were saying crazy things. Why don't you sit down with the person that you say is like Tucker Carlson or that guy, and then let's see how well you know your history, or, you know, like, can you really compete? And this is what I want to say too, and then I'll read some comments. I haven't been paying attention. It's the same thing with like trans sports. I mean, I know this is kind of a big jump, but it's the same kind of concept. With trans sports, it's like there's going to be some people like that boxer that were just born with weird genetics and they don't know where to fit in. And that was truly a weird situation, because I think they were born with all those like problems. Like they weren't just a tranny, they were like born with weird chromosomes and hormones. So like I actually feel bad for that boxer, I'm not gonna lie. With that being said, probably shouldn't play women's sports, but that's debatable, although I still think she shouldn't play. With that being said, you know, there's going to be some people that are like, I want to change genders and play sports or whatever. But then there's going to be like, you know, like there's going to be a Brian who was, you know, top 200 as a man. And then Brian wants to be Brianna and be the best volleyball player. So it's like people are going to take advantage of that system. You can't be naive about it. There's going to be shitty athletes that are pretty good, but never good enough to be great, that can transition and be great female athletes. Like that's happening, whether people want to admit it or not. It's the same thing with censorship. Like, yeah, maybe some people have righteous ideas of like, oh, you know, we can't have this or that. Like where it's like, okay, like it's the same with like law and order. It's like, yeah, you don't want to be completely anarchist unless you're an anarchist, but you want law and order, but you want it to be moral law and order and like bare minimum morality. But with that being said, there's always going to be people like, say, Tucker Carlson, right? I disagree with him on some things, and some things he's sneaky and whatever. Like, I'm not like, you know, I don't agree with everything Tucker says, but I'm an honest person. Like, he's good. He's good at what he does. He's great at what he does. He's not someone that you need to like throw off the internet. He's a net positive, and, you know, Tucker has never really stopped anyone from thriving. Like, I've never seen him call for censorship or smear people. In my opinion, he's only helped smaller voices and people that are actually better than Fox News get on the television, like people like Dave Smith and others. But in general, it's like he's not calling for people to shut up, but there's other influencers that'll look at Tucker Carlson and be like, I'll never be that big, so what if I said he's being hateful in order to basically elevate myself? Because that's happening on Twitter, whether it's Michaela Peterson or Seth Dillon or this chick Abby Libby. God bless them all, but it's like they're usually really popular. The Babylon Bee, incredibly popular. You know, Michaela Peterson, very popular. What's the one topic that they're getting ratioed on, out debated on? People coming in their comments and they're not popular anymore. It's the topic of Zionism and anti-Semitism and Israel. So, you know, it's the same as trans sports. Like maybe some people are trying to do it for the right reasons, maybe, but for the most part, there's a lot of people who will do it because, you know, if I transitioned, I could probably play in the WNBA. And I'm not saying like people will say, no, you can't. I would like to try. I'm pretty good at basketball. I'm not like great, but like the women compared to the men suck. You know what I'm saying? Like Caitlin Clark's good. Some of them can rebound, but like look at the NBA and the WNBA. Men are genetically way better than women at basketball on average. And any man, like if a bad NBA player who couldn't like was in the G League transition, they'd be the star of the NBA. They'd destroy Caitlin Clark. It's the same thing with news. I think that's what these people are doing. They're unpopular when they talk about Israel and Zionism. So they're like, you know, it is kind of hateful what you're doing. It is kind of bigotry. It is kind of anti-Semitism. Oh, you're denying a historical event. Even if you're not, we'll just say you are because we know that that'll affect you. And to me, that they're just jealous of Tucker Carlson. Like he's so popular and he's having interviews that they can't out debate. So they're like freaking out, you know, and being like, oh my gosh, he's this, he's that. Like, I think they're doing the same thing with the trans sports. They're just trying to oust their competition and beat their competition in a cheating way because they can't beat them with an even playing field. And you know, I've made it on my own, so I'm not emboldened to any. I've made it in the free market. I had no budget, no this, no that. I got millions of followers. I have a huge Instagram. It's bigger than go look at my Instagram posts and compare them to any big person that has millions of followers that's signed to these networks that's making millions of dollars. You're gonna find very few of them have more engagement. I'm bigger than them, and it's not a competition because it's like fame is not important to me. Being big, like I just would rather be healthy and happy and successful. But in general, I'm not saying this because I care that much. I'm just saying like they make their whole thing on like, oh, I'm so important, I'm this and that. It's all like a facade. Yeah, they got millions of dollars worth of ads. They got all the connections and stuff. Why is their social media not that popping? Because nobody really gives a shit that much. They're not that authentic. They're not that good. It's all propped up. So if someone comes along, whether they have a budget like Tucker Carlson or no budget like me and surpasses what they're doing, they freak out and they try to kick you to the curb because you're their competition that they can't beat in a fair manner. And this happens on the right all the time. It's been happening way before Candace Owens. And I don't want to get into that case because it's her business. But from what I saw from the Glenn Greenwald reports and stuff, and you could look into it because this is not official, but it's like, publicly, Ben Shapiro was calling for a debate with Candace Owens. Like they had a rift on foreign policy and certain topics when it comes to like Israel and Jewish stuff. And, Candace is so egregious, according to like Andrew Klavan. Dude, Andrew Klavan would get embarrassed in a debate with like Andrew Klavan is the like he's the equivalent to like somebody who sits on the bench and like, like Steph Curry and like Kevin Durant keep them around just because they like them in the locker room or something. Like that's Andrew Klavan. Like he's not in any way, shape, or form like really crushing that much. He's literally just being carried by everybody at Daily Wire. Like everybody has surpassed him. Everybody, Brett Cooper surpassed him. Matt Walsh surpassed him. Michael Knowles surpassed him. He's the weak link there that they just like and trust and stuff. But anyway, it's like, bro, you're not only not that popular, but you're not that smart. You're not that interesting. You're boring. You're dumb. Like Candace Owens would have a field day with Andrew Klavan. So here's my issue. It's not that they disagree. They part ways and stuff. That's fine. Ben Shapiro publicly is like, yeah, we'll debate, whatever. And then they're doing a gag order on Candace Owens, being like, her tweeting for a debate is violating our order, and they don't want to debate. That's what pisses me off. Everyone doesn't have to debate, but if you're not gonna debate, you can't be calling for censorship or smearing people. Like if you're screeching and screaming blood libel as Republicans are passing blood libel speech laws, if you're screeching and screaming denying historical events while you know that that's an offense that'll get you in a lot of trouble in this country, like, but you can't even back it up, like, and then you're exaggerating. But then one of the speech laws, like, it's like you can't really say that because that could be hate speech too, just suggesting that person is exaggerating, like that's, you can't say that even though they are. Like, it's like, oh, it's like you're an individual. I'm saying you. I'm not saying everyone. You're exaggerating. And other people are too sometimes. No, can't say that. So it's like that's the part that bothers me. It's not that Seth Dillon disagrees or Ben Shapiro disagrees. That's how they operate. You don't have to like Candace Owens. Her style is not for everybody and her energy is not for everybody. But like when people are like, and then it's like, okay, she's like, I'm willing to debate you. And they're like, it's like, yeah, let Klavan debate Candace Owens. See what happens. It would be hilarious. All right. Someone said, Anomaly, did I cover Germany getting their votes taken away? No, I'm not too keen. I know the AfD party won there, which the media calls far right because I think they're the nationalist party or whatever, but I didn't see what happened. Did they lose the election now? No, it says they won. They're the first party to win the state election since 1945. They're the first far-right party to win Germans. Oh, yeah. That's how CNN's framing it. AfD becomes first far-right party to win German state election since 1945. Do you know what they're trying to imply? Everybody knows what they're trying to imply. Oh, my gosh. A right-winger won in Germany? It reminds us of 1945. But that's also what Republicans will do. The Republicans I'm talking about, if someone like Tucker or even like Trump became super pro-America, they would start being like, oh my gosh, he's getting so hateful. Oh my gosh, he's going so far. We don't need censorship, but I see why it would work sometimes because these darn dastardly, it's like, look at everything they're censoring in America outside of things that are illegal and like should be censored. Like, what I'm talking about, just really illegal, egregious stuff, which they obviously go after online. Like, look at the political and social and pharmaceutical talk that they censor. It's all criticism of vaccines, speaking about it, reading headlines, basic common sense, your own immune system, going to your gym, leaving your house. These are the things that they're censoring. What about with politics? Like, are they censoring all the worst people in politics? No, they've weaponized our country against the people that actually like our country and want it to succeed and have an alternate opinion. It's like you can't even name like one thing that they've censored in the last 10 years that's actually generically good. Everything they've done, from the Hunter Biden laptop to the lab leak story to the terrain theory, like they're just censoring all the competition, because if you have no competitors, you can't lose. And that's what Lenin said. You know, I want to just read this Lenin quote real quick about controlled opposition, because this is so true. It's like Vladimir Lenin said, the best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves, you know? So it's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's like, we'll silence that competition and we'll give you this competition. You know, the competition to liberals is Ben Shapiro. The competition to liberals is Seth Dillon. What Tucker talked about that? Whoa, he's going too far, Tucker. Slow down, buddy. Get back in line with Seth Dillon and Ben Shapiro. That's the opposition to the left. And, you know, look at these liberals, huh? Anyway, someone said far right and far left are virtually the same thing. I mean, I don't really think so, but I'm glad you said that, because this is my interpretation, but I'm going to like kind of go through it. Far left and far right economically, like they're socially and economically. Far right economically would be anarchy. So I could see how the far right and the far left, they kind of like both like anarchy, but the left wingers are a little bit more weird about it. You know, and then when you get left, it's like government control. So they're more about government control, and the right is more about not government control. But when it comes to socially, like, you know, the left, sometimes they overlap certain, like, let's just say on Israel, like the far left, what they call the far left, has a similar opinion about Israel as the far right. Not completely, but I see the overlap in the far left and the far right. But how they want to run the country is incredibly different. Like the far left is like the Democratic Party or worse. The far left wants all the equity stuff. The far left, like, you know, it's the people that you think it is. And then the far right is more like, you know, I want it to be like Christian and conservative, and they want to go hard. So I wouldn't say they're exactly the same. Like some of their tactics are the same, some of their opinions are the same, but to me, like everyone's trying to label everyone something else, and it's like it's not true. Like the quote unquote far right is really not that similar to the far left. And if you gave the far left the country and the far right the country, there would be two incredibly, almost completely different outcomes. But I'm not saying they would work in either way. I'm just saying, like, it's not just because they have overlap on like one subject, their thought process is incredibly different. But, you know, I don't know what people mean by far left and far right anymore, because those terms are so overused and abused that it's like now you have the, you know, the right wing that knows that the, you know, Republican Party is censoring Zionist stuff. They call them liberals. And then the Seth Dillons of the world and those type of people, they're calling the other right wingers like woke. So it's like, it's hard to tell what people are talking about, because they're like, you're being woke. No, you're being woke. No, you're being left wing. No, you're like the far left. No, you're like the far left. And it's like, I get what people are saying, but everyone is so that's why I'm saying, like, if Tucker Carlson really had on a historian who said all these things, then you could say it. But if you're gonna exaggerate and like really be like, oh my gosh, this guy said this and that, like, did he really say that, or is that what you're saying? Like, nobody speaks directly anymore. So it's like I'm just calling it like I see it. Like I see the flaws on both sides, but to me, when it comes to like left and right, whether it's Republican or whatever, and Democrats and they're like far left, the Republicans are the adult in the room. I'm not saying Republicans are right. I'm not saying Republicans are, you know, like ethical and like they're not sold out. They are sold out, but it's like at least the Republicans are adults and they're like at least doing something. Like the left, it's not that they're wrong about everything, but they're so damn naive and like stubborn about a lot of stuff, where like they're so far from reality, where I could see how like left-wing socialism and communism fails. Like, it's not hard for me to see that. Like, they're running big cities. Why are big cities getting so dirty and disgusting? Someone told me, I don't know the exact number, like in reality, but my buddy who used to live in Santa Monica, he told me that like 30% or so of, like, maybe more, maybe less, of Promenade Street, which is the big street, he's saying that it's like nobody's there because their rent's too high and it's just shitty. Nobody wants to be there. It's not surprising to me because it's like, how many Starbucks and how many, like, mainstream corporations left San Francisco and Los Angeles? Like, downtown LA in most places is literally hell. So it's like, why would you run your business there? Like, the liberals, they never look at that shit. And like anytime I talk to somebody Democrat and liberal, no matter how many good things they say, they don't see things through the lens of like, look how fucking bad that is and crazy and demonic. Let's clean it up and make it safe. They see everything through the lens of like, let's help these groups and that, and it's all the rich people's fault. And it's like, do you have any plan to clean that up? Like, you could blame rich people if you want, but like, they have no plan to do anything like strategic. Like, everything's just like this, like, let's do it this way. And it doesn't work in reality. So I could see how left-wing communism fails and left-wing socialism fails. And when it comes to the Republican Party now, my problem, or the problem in my view, and this is not to blame the rich, because our people are just as responsible for not knowing this stuff and not paying attention. So it's not to blame. And I'm not saying like everybody's going to do what they're going to do, but both parties are working for the bankers. Both parties are working for the pharmaceutical industry. So this pipe dream that Republicans have of fixing the economy, Trump is better than Kamala. Like, I would rather roll the dice with Trump than Kamala 1,000%. I'm voting for Trump, but he blew up the economy with COVID. He sold out to the pharmaceutical industry. And it's like, when you know how banking works and you're not biased, it doesn't really matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Like, you can't just keep printing money and sending money to foreign countries. And that's what Mike Johnson and whoever runs the Democrats are doing. They're just doling our money. Like, it's just like a bonanza where it's just like they're just throwing our money everywhere else, and everything's going down, and they don't care. They're not trying to strategically look at our country and fix things for us. So at this point, and this is just my view, I think Republicans are slightly better, but when neither party gives a shit, like, things work when you think about them. Like, how do you fix Los Angeles? Look at it, look at the problems, and then figure out how to try to solve the problems. Like, that's how you fix it. And because you have the power of the purse and the government, and you have police on your side and the military, you can do a lot more than most people can do because you have everything. But in general, it's like, they don't do that. The left doesn't look at our problems and say, how do we fix them? They just make them worse. And they're just throwing our money all over the place. Republicans are like half-assing it. They're like, we'll fix 1 or 2 problems, but we'll fuck up 7 problems and, print the money and then kind of half-ass it. And like, we lock down, but not for 7 months, only for 2 months. And it's like, it's all a joke. It's like, until people realize that we're just getting like extorted basically, and just like money is being sucked out of us in 1,000 different ways, they don't really care who's doing what, because it doesn't really change that much. So it's like, I still vote Republican because I think it makes more sense, but nobody really realizes this. Like, the Democratic Party, like, they're like, Kamala's gonna, it doesn't even make sense. Like, it's like, how's Kamala gonna fix this? And what is her, it's all fake. Democrats are ridiculous. And then the far left, like, maybe they're right about a few things. Like, they're like, Kamala doesn't care about us, and the Democrats are starting war that we hate. And it's like, I don't disagree, but what is the far left solution? Like, does anybody think that the far left, who maybe they challenge her on Israel, like, does anybody think those kids would run the government right? They would run it worse than Kamala Harris. I can't stand Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, but they hire deep state people who know how to keep America afloat somewhat. These left-wing Marxist communist kids, I wouldn't say I agree with them on very much, but there are topics that, like, I don't think they're that wrong about, but their solution is worse than a Democrat. It's just like, they're not adult enough to know how to run. You could stop the war and that would be great, but like, how would you run the city? How would you run business? How would you run companies? A lot of these kids would shut down X, shut down this. Like, they want to go full government control of everything. And their ideas are the dumbest ideas out of everybody. So it's like, I'd rather vote for a Zionist Republican, or even, I wouldn't vote for a Democrat, but it's like, even the Zionist Democratic Party would probably run the country better than the far left communist kids that want to like take over. It's just my opinion. I don't know which one Kamala is because she pretends like she's both. She's like a corporate Democrat Zionist, and the next day she's like a leftist Marxist. I don't know who she is, but it's like, it's like there's things I agree with certain people, but the Republicans are just the adults in the room. They do it the best. They're worth my vote. But at a certain point, it's like the only way this country is going to get fixed, everybody's got to like really think about stuff. And like, it's just not happening through the divide and conquer and the fighting and stuff. But it's just like, it sucks because it's like the far left kids, they make some points, but they're like way too angry and ridiculous. And then the Democratic Party is just the worst. Like the Kamala Biden Democrats, they're so fake that they're not even real. At least the further left kids that are crazy, at least they like believe something. Like Kamala, everything's fake. Like you can't even have a debate with her because nothing, like, what do you even talk about? Like nothing's even real that she's saying. So it's like debating with a wall. And then you get to the Republican Party and the Zionist Republican Party, and it's like it's better than the other two options, I believe. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to infringe on the First Amendment, then it's really not good enough. If you're going to, and I'm not saying it's the Zionist side of them that's doing this, because a lot of countries did this. I don't think it has that much to do with that, but I'm just saying in general, like the Trump type Republican Party, it's like he's for the First Amendment, but he like infringes on it. He's for the Second Amendment, but he infringes on it. He's pro-capitalism, but he does a communist lockdown. He's going to fix the economy, but he prints the money. Trump was honestly like the ultimate paradox. I'm not going to blame him for it, but I don't even like people are like, he's the best president. He might be one of the worst presidents in our lifetime. And then people are going to be like, why are you going to vote for him? I don't know. I think I have my reasons. I'm going to make a video of all my reasons. There's 15 topics I think he's better on. I think he's more easy to access. You can guide him in the right directions. And Kamala is like an empty ghost. But at the same time, like, I'm not one of these Trump supporters who sits here and he's like, he's the best president in modern history. He infringed on the first two amendments and printed more money than Obama. He failed and he destroyed the economy. And then Biden and Kamala destroyed it more, and they'll take it even further. So it's like, that's the choices we have. I'm going to pick one, but at the same time, like, is anyone ever going to figure this stuff out or no? It's like the left, I get left-wing TikToks now. I should have put one up because I joined TikTok to use it and post again since they deleted mine. And I got Democrats in my feed and I started watching them. So now they just give them to me and I keep watching them because it's like my way of studying what they're doing. And a lot of it, I'm not saying all of it because there's some men too, but a lot of it is angry women, and I'm not saying they have no points, but they're like, you don't even know what liberals have done. I'm a proud liberal. We gave you the right to vote. We did this, we did that. And they're just like angry at their dad or something. It's like, I get it. We all have mommy and daddy issues, not all of us, but a lot of us. It's like, okay, but they're just like, and we're gonna, and that's the vibe of it. And I say this a lot, not to be repetitive, but like, once you get 3 layers deeper on this psychology, all the other stuff is just like a therapy session. It's like Trump supporters and Kamala supporters, it's like a live therapy session that everybody's having with each other, where it's like the root of the problem on the left is they're too angry and they're too stubborn and they think that they're smarter than the right. In some cases they are. Like, they see dumb right-wingers and they're like, I'm smarter than them, but then their ego blinds them and then they just become idiots. And then on the right, it's like, well, we're better than them, so they can't fathom that they've been tricked in other ways and they're getting controlled into their own demise. So that's what you have. Whether you're a Kamala Democrat, which is insane, whether you're a left-wing Marxist kid who's got a Palestine, flag in their hand and a mask on their face, it's like embarrassing. It's like, you want the world to get behind Palestine and you're wearing a pharmaceutical mask. Maybe it's to hide your identity, but you're the same kids who just, were pushing vaccine mandates. So it's a little weird. It's like, they're not going to fix the country. And then you get to the right. It's like, that's just the reality of it. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's stubborn. Everybody's like mad. And, it's like, it's the ego blinding everyone. And like the right wing can be very stubborn and they know the left is dumb about some stuff. So they're just like, I must be right because I'm, they're wrong. So they can't see that they've been tricked. But with the left, it's more like, I went to college. I got a PhD. I've been getting all the TikToks and it's kind of creeping me out because there's a lot of Democrats on TikTok. And I'm not shocked they deleted me. Like, I would have got through to a lot of kids. I would have got through to a lot of the youth and college and adults as well. And they deleted my fucking channel. Excuse my language. Like, yeah, you delete my channel and hit them with a bunch of Kamala bots, then Of course they'll believe that, just the same way they tricked me when I was 21 on certain things. But in general, it's like I could see the archetype. It's these, college educated people. And I went to college too. I dropped out to become a rapper because, I'm a little ghetto like that, but I'm just kidding. But, I had bigger ambitions than West Virginia University. Shout out West Virginia. Country road, take me home. Anyway, they have this, like, the Democrats have this vibe of like, my parents are so dumb. I'm such a smarty pants. Oh, you think I'm dumb, Dad? How come I got a PhD? Look at my PhD, Dad. Like, that's the vibe of it. Or it's like some, chick that could probably, drop a few pounds and get in better shape for their health. But anyway, then they're like, oh, you don't think I'm a strong woman, huh? I got an economics degree. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is bad stuff. There was one lady, because like Trump was like they chopped up like a clip of like a Trump supporter saying like, think about the economy. Like, I'm voting for Trump because of the economy. And I'm not gonna lie, this chick made a few valid points. Like, I'm not gonna lie. But like, it comes on and she just like stares at the camera. She looks like Elizabeth Warren mixed with like a pigeon, you know what I'm saying? Like, coming for your donut or something. And she's like, actually, like it starts with the Trump supporter. She's like, hey, I'm going to vote for, Trump because the economy. Don't you care about the economy? And then it shifts to this lady. And she's like, hey, actually, I have a PhD in economics. I'm an economics professor. And I'm going to tell you why that's not true. And it's like, aesthetically, it's like, lady, like, I don't know. Like, even with me, right? I'm good at a lot of things, and perhaps I talk about myself too much sometimes, but I don't come in and I'm like, you know what? As a man who's done this, let me tell you how I'm doing. It's like, dude, relax, chick. Like, your vibe is so crazy. Like, you're so self-righteous. You're so into yourself where you're like, I have a PhD and I teach economics, and let me yell at you. And it's like, relax, baby. Not maybe. That's disrespectful. Maybe she has a boyfriend. I don't know. But where were we? Yeah. And like, it's just this whole rant where like she made some good points. Like, she was like, this is why the two-party system's so annoying. I almost said gay, but it is gay too. And that's, for the that doesn't mean I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like, it's gay. Trump waves the gay flag, Kamala loves the gays. Like, it's just a really gay democracy we have. But anyway, she's starting to talk about economics, and she's like, just because you felt richer during Trump, it doesn't mean you were. And she goes, Trump actually like printed a lot of money during the pandemic and the economy fell apart. And she's right. But here's the issue with her saying that. I don't know this chick personally, but those type of Democrats were telling Trump to lock down. Trump is wrong for that. Trump is responsible for the economic damage to some extent. But these people are like, oh, yeah, that's his fault. You guys were telling him to lock down longer. If it were up to psychopaths like this chick, Trump would have locked down for 2 years and destroyed the economy even further. So it's like the same ones who were like, they're like, Trump, you're going to kill everybody if you don't lock down the country forever. Oh my gosh, you're killing everybody. You're responsible for every death. Then like 2 years later, they're like, oh, look, Trump closed the economy. It's, I'm an economics professor. He did it. And it's like, I know you were probably screaming for, like, you weren't thinking about economics at that time. I'm sure you were pushing vaccines and saying that Trump and Republicans should have locked down more. So it's like, everybody's so fucking fake. It's just like, it's just so stupid, like, it's like, you're slightly right, but you're also a psychopath. And that's like the vibe of like TikTok. It's like, listen, I'm in college. I use Reddit. I use TikTok. Okay, Dad, see me now. I'm so smart. And it's like, you could do some push-ups too, my guy. I saw, maybe I'll upload it just for fun. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I don't feel like losing my stream or something. But there were two guys like burning a Trump flag, like, and they were both fat. Just gonna say it. And it's not like, there's fat Republicans too. And it's your life. Half the country's fat, swallowing Ozempic and doing shit. But anyway, like, I'm just watching this video and it's like two, fatties. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like I said, Lizzo used to be really fat. She's losing weight. That's awesome. But like, I enjoyed her fatty performance. It was amazing. Fat and amazing together. It was a amazing performance. She's incredible. But these two guys are like burning a Trump flag, and they're like in their 50s or 60s, and they're like, ha, Kamala, we're burning the Trump flag. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, both of you are fat. And listen, it's all good, but it's like your activism should be doing push-ups. Like if you were crushing and then you're like, Kamala, baby, it's like cool. But like you guys both look like leftover like sourdough toast in the dumpster mixed with bologna, and you're just like, ha, and it's like your body's like falling on top of itself. It's like, yeah, that's so cool. Wow, that's real activism. And then people do it on the other side too. I was joking with somebody the other day, and like, I said that JD Vance, he looks like he eats Lunchables bologna like every day, like he almost looks like a Lunchables bologna. If you put like Lunchables bologna and JD Vance next to each other, like they look almost identical. But it's like, I'm like, dude, Lunchables again? He's like, dude, I love Lunchables. I'm like, you can't be eating Lunchables bologna for every meal as the vice president. So there's nothing wrong with it. He's not that big. I'm just saying he literally kind of looks like he eats bologna a lot, which I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure it's not zero the time. He'll probably go to Pennsylvania and be like, yeah, I eat bologna. I'm just like you. And then Pennsylvanians be like, fuck yeah, Trump Vance 2024. I'm voting for him too. I'm just saying. I don't know where that was going, but like that's why I don't talk on social media that much anymore. Cause it's like my mom used to tell me, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it at all. So I log into Twitter. I have nothing nice to say, and I log out and I watch sports. I was just watching tennis. Who won? Hold on a second. Who won tennis? Fritz? I was hoping it was the other way around. That's okay, though. Anyway. Someone said oddly specific, but it's just true, though. Like, of course, politics matters, but I don't say this in like a hateful manner. It's like 50+% of the country is like obese. Everyone's on like all these pharmaceuticals, and then everyone's like, Kamala. It's like, yo, we all need to like work out. I'm in good shape, and even I was getting out of shape. Like I was doing too much internet stuff. That's why I've been doing more cardio. I got busy for a year, I just got busy, and it was like I was working out, but I wasn't doing cardio and playing sports. And it had a toll. It took a toll on me. So it's not like I'm immune from it. It was messing me up too. And this is the scary part. Like everyone always says in America, they're like, yo, I went to Peru for a month and I lost weight, even though we're eating poison and garbage. Like I'm not saying I do the most, but like I walk a lot. I exercise a lot. It's hard for me to like lose weight, or like I put on muscle and stuff, but it's like, I don't eat that crazy. I walk like like my legs are crazy strong. Like I walk like miles like every day, and I'm still like putting on weight last year just because like everything is like poison in this country. Like it's just garbage. Like even if you eat good, it's not even good food. So it's like, that's why everybody's fat in this country. So I don't know. I would have to talk. They might call me obese or something. I don't think I am, but like obese isn't what you think it is. Like you look at someone really fat and you're like, that's obese. Like no, 30 years ago, it's like they would say if I'm like 10 pounds overweight, they'll call me obese. So it's like, we could all get a little healthier. Someone said I got droopy shoulders. Say what you want. I'm pretty strong, but yeah, you could say I have droopy shoulders. That's fine. Now you're getting me to show off, but we could all do better. Someone said, does Anomaly play tennis? I do. I challenge. I've done this before. I challenged Vivek Ramaswamy to a tennis match. I see him playing tennis out there. Anomaly versus Vivek, tennis. Let's do it. I like tennis. I'm decent. My serve could be a little better, but besides that, I'm pretty good. Soccer is my best sport. If I had to rank it, like what am I the best at? It would be soccer, number one. I played that my whole life. That's like my best sport. Basketball, probably number two. Tennis and ping pong, probably number three. I mean, pickleball is like the same thing, but I like tennis and ping pong better. Volleyball, I'm pretty good at as well. The only sport I'm bad at, like not the only one, but golf. I suck at golf. Golf is a whole different vibe, and I don't have it. I need a swing coach, and I need lessons, and I need to find God, because golf does not do me well. But what position do I used to play forward, but I could play any position, but I'm a striker. Basketball, I could be anything. Like I'm 6'3", but I could I don't know. It depends how tall the people are. Like I like to dribble and play guard and pass and stuff, but sometimes if I'm the tallest one, they just make me play center. But who wins a fight, Walls or Vance? I don't know. Let me look at pictures of them. Hold on. I'm just going to search the first picture. JD Vance. I'm just going to search workout. I mean, that's kind of weird. Now Google's going to think I'm gay, but it's okay. Google. Maybe Google will like me if they think that because they're into that stuff. But here, let's see. JD Vance workout. I'm just trying to see like what he looks like. All right, JD Vance. I mean, he's definitely gotten in better shape over the years. He looks good. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like baloney in this picture. I take it back. Tim Walls. Hold on. I mean, if I were to do like, I don't know if you guys know betting odds or anything, but if I were to make betting odds, I would have JD Vance at like minus 200, and I would have Tim Walls at like plus 170, 180, you know, because JD Vance, he should win. He's younger. You know, let me see how tall they are. Hold on. I forgot to look. Tim Walls height. How tall is Tim Walls? He's does it not say? It doesn't say how tall he is. You can't even find how tall he must not be tall then. I don't know. Or he is tall and nobody cares. Let's see. I got to look at this before I make the official odds. JD Vance. Nobody. It says Google says JD Vance is 5'7". Oh, I mean, maybe he's gonna get his ass kicked then if Tim Walls is like huge. Let's say I don't know. Size does not always matter, but in fighting, it definitely they have weight classes for a reason. I can't tell. I don't know. I would say JD Vance is a slight favorite, but it's Tim Walls might have that dad strength. Like the last thing to go is your strength, they say. And some dads that like Tim Walls could be like, I'm doing it for Wisconsin, and he could punch it. Like, you know, I would like to see it though. Trump versus Biden, would love to see it. Walls versus Vance. That would like, to me, that's what this country needs is like boxing politics. That would be fun. Eric Trinkling said, dude, you interviewed Dr. Shiva. Did his message come across in a bad way? I think he's on the ballots in the States, not to write in. I've interviewed Shiva twice. Did his message come across in a bad way? No, I wouldn't say that. I thoroughly enjoy both times. I had a great time. I love talking to Dr. Shiva. It's enjoyable. You could vote how you want, but he's going to get under 1% of the vote. So it's like with the RFK campaign. I'm not trying to be a dick. I enjoyed interviewing Dr. Shiva. You know, I think he's brave. I think he goes for it. And I think he's very, you know, authentic, but like, is he really telling people that he's going to be the president? Like, you know, he's going to get less than like 0.5 of the vote. Like, you know that, right? I'm not trying to be rude, but like, even with RFK, I'm like, RFK's not going to win this election. You know, like, are people really like, oh, he's going to win? It's like, he's not though. I like interviewing him. I like him. He can come on the show again. I could talk to him about this if he doesn't get mad at me, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't play these games, but let's see. Someone said, super proud of my son. He coaches varsity girls soccer and he scrimmaged with them at practice. I'm very proud of him and the girls. Job well done. Congrats. He said that a little interestingly, but anyway, I don't know. It's good to coach. Someone said, Tim Stolen Valor Walls spent 24 years in the military, but saw zero conflict. Well, no, it was just a typo. He made a typo out of his mouth. He's like, I served in conflict. Wait, no, I didn't. I just made a mistake. You're like, yeah, is that what the mistake was? Someone said Kamala is fairly attractive. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Someone said, yes, I know, but his movement will gain traction. Sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I'm sure. Shiva has a really good work ethic. So, you know, he's like, his energy is legendary. Like, regardless of what you think, like he's always going to find a way. I don't think Shiva's going to win the election, but as like a person, I would not bet against Shiva because he has the energy of 1,000 suns. Like he likes to go for it. He's accomplished a lot in his life. He's won lawsuits. Like he definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to like business and stuff. I don't know. Someone said problem. He repeats his history each time. I don't know. I don't watch enough to know. Someone said Kamala looks like a dude. I don't think she looks like a dude. She definitely looks like a woman, but you know, not your type. This is the funny part about nowadays is like everybody thinks everybody's a tranny now. Like once you lose that trust in gender, like everyone's a tranny. Like there's the usual suspects that everybody accuses of. I understand that, but like now it's like Kamala's a tranny. People are like, I think people said, I think someone said I was a tranny, which is funny, but it's like, you know, like people will be like, I know you're secretly that. You're like, okay. So I think like humanity's like lost trust. So now they're like not sure who's even like a woman. You know, they're like, yeah, I've heard Tulsi Gabbard a lot. That's funny as well. But I don't think Tulsi is, but I don't think Kamala is either. But I'm not going to stop you from calling people a tranny. You know, other people will stop you and get pissed at you. Me, I kind of think it's funny. But like when someone calls me a tranny, it's a little rude. It's very rude, but it's also kind of funny as long as they're not like crazy psychotic with it. Like if they're just like, you're a tranny, it's like, ha ha ha. But if they're like, I know it, I can prove it, it's like, all right, bro, good luck. Like I'm not a tranny, but you know. Someone said, who's better looking, Trump versus Kamala? I mean, a guy that's not gay would say Kamala, but I don't know. Could it even be straight to be like I guess if you had like a really ugly lady that was like a 1 and a guy that was clearly like not ugly, then maybe you could be like, you know, I get where you're coming from. But if you're a guy, don't let your wife out here saying that you think Trump's better looking than Kamala. You're like, I'm such a patriot. I'd get on my knees for Trump. I'm just kidding, but it's like I'd get on my knees for Trump. Ain't nothing gay about that. You're like, I'd rather do that than Kamala. You're like, make America great again? I don't know. This movement's not the same as it was in 2018. I'll tell you that, but I'm just joking, but that's kind of funny. Lauren Boebert. Me and Lauren Boebert have a great picture together. If you could find it, we look good. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I know she's single now, but go try to find the anomaly Lauren Boebert picture if you can. That's a good looking picture. I'm just gonna say, you know, she saw me somewhere. She said hi. She knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? We talked, took a picture. Let me see if I can find it. Should I find it? Hold on. I'm gonna try. I might fuck up the whole stream, but it's worth it. Is actually maybe I shouldn't, right? She got divorced and stuff, but we never did anything. I'm not saying we did. I'm just saying we took a cool picture. But I don't know. I should probably move on to something else. But yeah, she's obviously like one of the more attractive people in Congress. There's a lot of uglies in there, so Lauren stands out. She's definitely not ugly, you know. Let me see. I want to see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure she retweeted it too, and then like the media started like freaking out, and I was like, whoa. Let's see. I can't find it. Anomaly. Was Trump crowned the king of Israel by was Trump crowned the king of Israel by the Israel Heritage Foundation? Oh shoot, I didn't mean to put that on the screen. I don't know. I mean, I know he's gotten a lot of like Israel awards and stuff for a while, but I don't know about that specific one. I'm not like that well versed in it, but let me see. I'm trying to find my picture, my selfie for you know, educational purposes, let's just say. Let me see, download image. I don't know. I kind of look a little weird, actually. I thought I looked cooler than that. Should I share it? I don't know. I found it, but I thought I looked cooler. I think I look a little sus, you know, but maybe, I don't know. It's all interpretation. Sometimes I smile too big and I feel weird. I'm like, you know, or like someone takes a picture, you got like a stain on your shirt or something, and you're like, oh, fuck. But someone said, my friend just showed me one of those obsessed. I don't get what you're saying, but share it. All right, hold on. I got to put it in a video because it's like I can't share pictures on here. I don't know how to do it, but I can like share. I could put the picture on my like Final Cut, and then I could like bounce it out. All right, let me see. Yeah, I kind of look sus. I don't know. I don't want to share it. I don't know. On second thought, yeah, no, we never took a picture. Anyway, where were we? All right, I bounced it out. I'll think about it, but I don't think I'm gonna share it. It's not the right time. Someone said it's communism versus fascism. It is. It's communism if I don't share it. It's fascism if I do. I'm just kidding. But someone said it's hard to fit in when you're smart. Thanks for being smart, Anomaly. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I do have trouble fitting in sometimes. I thought it was a me problem, but thanks for making me feel better. I was like, oh, it's me. It's because there's something wrong with me. Let's see. All right. Well, it's gonna freeze though. Every time I try to like play a video, it's gonna freeze. Hold on. If you freeze the stream, it's on you guys. You know, it's your fault. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm still here. All right, I'll show y'all the picture, but let me just give a background because I'm not trying to be weird with it and disrespectful or anything, but it was just that turning point, like nothing crazy. It was just like I was outside and she came up and I was like, "Oh, Lauren, what's going on?" And she was like, "Oh, I love your videos or whatever. Like you should text me or whatever." You know, like it was just like casual, but she knew who I was and I said hi and like she was super chill, low key. You know what I'm saying? Nothing crazy, just like mutual respect and you know, that's a selfie. I look a little too happy though. You know, I look a little too happy. Like I should have. She looks happy too though. But of course, it's not about that. It's about politics. So we're not gonna go there. But you know, it's just a casual convo. Like you know, keep up the good work. Watch out for the liberals. You know, they're sneaky. Anyway, someone said good pick. I mean, yeah, I think it was all right. But yeah, I think it turned out. It's one of my better pictures. But yeah, that's why I can't go to Turning Point anymore because I have too much swag. Like I walk in and then like, you know, they look at me and like, yo, he's got way too much swag. He's gonna make us look uncool. So then they're like, yeah, sorry, you can't come in. And then I'm like, but Reuters can come in. They're like, yeah. But not you. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway. Where were we? Someone said at least you didn't have something in your teeth like today. Oh yeah, I do. Dang, dude. I gotta get some floss. Did I get it? It might. I gotta clean. Dang, I done played myself. It's okay. Is it a gap? Did I? No, I gotta get some floss. Oh well, it's too late now. That's one thing too. I noticed like sometimes I'll do like a stream and I'll have like something slightly out of place and I'll be like, fuck. The thing with a live, it's like it is what it is at this point. I'm attached to the game. Like I just roll with it. But sometimes I'll do like a 10 or 15-minute video. I'll film it and then I'll go to edit it and like something was like out of place and like real messed up. And I was like, no, I gotta film the whole thing again. This I would not film again. I don't care that much. And it was a great picture. All right, we'll put it up there again since I'm getting so many compliments. I mean, I'm not opposed to a good time. Hold on. I'm back on the coffee. It's just the coffee's okay. I just need to do more cardio. That was the issue. It wasn't the coffee, but we'll throw it up there one more time. You know what I'm saying? Once again, I'm not nothing. It was just normal, like, you know, mutual respect. God bless. Keep it moving. But it's a nice picture. You know, it's just two patriots. You know, it is what it is. We're just two happy people out here trying to serve our country, make America great again, and you know, get to Turning Point USA with no issues. Oh, I'm off this. Okay, there I am. It's a good time. You should give her a call. No, I don't know. I know she's single, but I don't want to. I mean, it's one of those things too. Like I want somebody with like less, like she's so involved. I want a chick like that sits in a library with no following. Sometimes people try to set me up. They're like, look at this person. She does social media. It's like, I don't need more problems. Like, I don't imagine dating a chick that gets in more trouble than you. It just sounds exhausting. Like, you know, I just want someone that like, you know, I got enough shit to deal with for all of us. So it's like, let's keep it to that. Let's not like having to be an influencer and date another influencer or something. It's too much for me personally, but unless it really works, you know, if you're like really in love, then anything could work, but find a nice Amish girl. That sounds cool to me. She could churn butter and shut her mouth. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking, but it's funny when you say that because then people get mad, but it's kind of like the comedic timing of it is actually like very funny. Churn butter, you know, stop talking. It's like, whoa, you know, I got good comedic timing, but I'm not trying to talk myself up too much. I already don't know. I think I said that one time before, and like women were like, "Hey, I'm against liberals, but that's a step too far." It's like, yeah, but that's what made it funny. Like if I didn't step further than you wanted me to, then it wouldn't be as funny. But it makes it really funny when you're like, what did he mean by that? That's where the comedy is, you know? You got to do it. Someone said a woman is for babies. Hey, relax there, you sexist. Man, check out this sexist homophobe in the comments. Am I right, ladies? What you need is a respectful man like me that opens the door, that will listen and will say, yeah, I would never speak to a woman like that. Anyway, yeah, we got rid of that sexist. Am I right, ladies? Us real men cutting out the bad guys. Anyway, would you like to date? You know what I'm saying? Some guys play it like that too, where they're like, anyway, yeah, now that we got rid of that trouble, are you free Thursday? And she's like, no, you're just my friend. And he's like, darn it, I thought I was so close. There's just a bunch of fucking losers. No, I'm joking around, but there's a lot of guys in the YouTube, so I thought that was funny to say, but you guys are cool. But well, not all of you, some of you are not cool, but like for the women that are here, I know there's some. My audience is almost 50-50, but not in the chat. I think the guys like to while out, you know. The boys like to turn up, but to the women, like, do you like someone answer in the comments? Do you like nice guys? Women always say that, but I feel like women don't like guys that are too nice. They always like, they say in their head they say that, but they always go for like something else. Like, do you actually like nice guy? Like, do you want a guy to be nice, or do you want a guy to like give you a little trouble? Let's see what women say. Men don't answer. And if you look like, if you have a weird name, I'm just going to assume you're a man and not a woman, because women don't make anonymous accounts like the guys do as much, I think. Not all the time, but someone said, yeah, we do, but not too nice. Okay. Someone said women love Ted Bundy. Probably with all those television shows they do. Tell us, ladies. Georgia says, I like nice guys. Husband is nice, but he never compliments and is a guy's guy. Okay. Do you want more compliments or no? Because like women are, I'm not saying you're annoying, but they're like, I want more compliments. But then you give them more compliments and they're like, oh, that's too many. Now I like someone else. It's like, it's hard to navigate these women. They're never happy. They're like cats. They need you to like ignore them a little bit, and then they come back around. But I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's true. Don't listen to me. Someone said mainly nice with a little bit of spice. I like the rhyming. Anomaly, since Trump was on Fridman, do you think it clears the path to Rogan? It's up to Rogan. Rogan, I'm sure Trump wants to go on. Rogan really doesn't want to talk to Trump. If Rogan does what he wants, so if he's inspired to talk to Trump, he will. But you know, Rogan has his reasons for not wanting to talk to Trump. If I were Rogan, to be honest, now I wouldn't talk to Trump, because Trump threw a fit and he was telling people to boo Joe Rogan. I like Rogan. I like Trump. There's different things I like about both of them. Trump was kind of a clown for that. Like, I get being mad at Rogan, but Rogan said he liked RFK Jr. and Trump's like, yeah, I hope they boo you next time you go to UFC. It's like, Trump, relax, bro. Like, it's like RFK's not even running anymore. Like, Trump is so quick to like jump down your throat. Trump reminds me of like, he's so petty, but like, I would not want to cross paths with Trump because he's so petty. He doesn't care what's right or wrong. He just wants to embarrass you. Like, if he feels betrayed, he just wants to like embarrass the shit out of you. You know, like he's like, they're going to boo Joe Rogan. It's like, they're not going to boo Joe Rogan. He's so popular. But, you know, Trump's trying to swing his dick a little bit. Like, I'm more popular than you at UFC. They should boo you. It's kind of funny though. I don't know. I kind of like Trump, actually. Like, even when he's a dick, he's your boy that's like always being a dick, but like, he's also kind of funny. So you like allow it, you know, like everybody's got that friend where you're like, you know, he's doing too much. Someone said, I bet Anomaly has plowed a lot of fields in his life. Actually, I grew up on a farm. I wasn't the plow I know you were saying something else, but I'm going to be wholesome about it. I didn't plow, but I did pick strawberries. I tied tomatoes and like onion, like I did not onions, but I did like manual labor on the farm without the truck. I think my stepfather realized I was too like dumb to run the truck, so he didn't want to give me the hardware. So I was like, you know, I was like the worker where I was like, go do this in the strawberry fields, go do this with the tomatoes, tie them. Sometimes you got to tie the tomatoes for whatever reason to the stake I did stuff like that. I never got the plow, which I'm fine with. I don't think I didn't know how to drive it, and I didn't feel like learning at the time. Now I'd want to learn, but at the time I was just like, just throw me in the field. I don't give a shit. Throw me with the people that don't speak English. For a while, my Spanish was really good because I took Spanish in school, but I didn't pay attention that much. So I knew a little Spanish, but like I worked with people who only spoke Spanish in the fields for like a whole summer, and my Spanish was getting so good, and now I forgot it all. But I was a good son. I mean, I just needed money, to be honest. I never wanted to farm. Like, I didn't farm when I was really young. I feel like I wasn't that helpful. But like once I hit college and stuff and I needed money, I was like, whatever, I'll work on the farm. Farming sucks. Like, I mean, it's not like it's beautiful, but like it's really difficult. Farming is very, very difficult labor. You got to be a certain type of person because like I would wake up at 5 and end at 5. You're in the sun all day, like it's just hard to be in the sun all day. It's a very difficult profession. I'm sure there's people here who work outside too. But yeah, farming is rough. It's like all these like hipsters now and like, conservatives, I'm not knocking it, but they're like, I want to homestead on a farm. I get it. Absolutely. It's the dream. And it's really good to do. It's just really hard, like where I think growing up on a farm, I'm like, I don't want to do it again, but I get like, I should want to do it, right? I should want to garden and stuff. I guess I'm just like traumatized where I'm like, nah, I don't want one, but I do want the food. It's just, I think I'm traumatized because I had a huge farm. It wasn't ours, but like my stepfather worked on it and it wasn't like a little farm. I guess like if I had a smaller farm, I'd probably be more into it. But like I was in strawberry fields that it had to be like over a mile of strawberry fields and I had to pick the bugs off it. And then I was doing this and that, but it was like thousands of strawberry things. Like if it were just like 5, then it would not be that big of a deal. So I think that's why I'm traumatized because I did like high level farming to the point where I'm like, I was like, I don't want to do this. That's why even with like this stuff, on one hand, like my mental health is important and like it's not that easy in some ways, you know what I'm saying? But if my health is good, I have no complaints with this. The only thing is like if my health is suffering and I need to take a break, I need to take a break. But with this, it's like, people are like, oh, is it really hard? Yeah, in some ways there's like, yeah, but like farming is hard. Working at a supermarket is hard. Like I've done a lot of hard jobs. I did the overnight stocking at a supermarket. Like that's way harder. So, everything's hard. Like if you do manual labor, it's hard. If you work outside, it's hard. If you sit at a desk all day and stare at a computer, it's hard. Like everything sucks. So you just got to figure out what job sucks less or which job makes the most money or you like. But, I know like a lot of like podcasters will complain and stuff and I get it, but there's things that I don't like too, but the world is rough right now. So there's nowhere really to like go to, and fall back on. And I know this myself too, where like in politics, it could be stressful and people could be really annoying. And then you tell yourself like, oh, maybe if I did sports, it would be not annoying. But people are really messed up in the UFC. Like this is my opinion as a fan of fighting. I respect almost every fighter unless they're really dickheads or something, but still they're going in an octagon and fighting. Like it takes a certain level of combat to do that and balls. And if you don't do that, you have to have respect for people that do. But like nobody has like all the fans, like they'll just be shitting on people that are top 10 fighters in the world. And it's like the biggest fucking losers, no offense, like the biggest losers will be talking shit to UFC fighters and they'll be like, you suck. Bro, you suck. Like I can't tell Anthony Smith he sucks. He's a top 10 fighter. He fought for a belt. Like, he loses sometimes. But like the fans are crazy in UFC. It's not like everybody's always like, oh, maybe if I don't do politics and I do something else, it'll be more fun. I mean, it could be, but sports fans are crazy also. Like that, corporate America's crazy. Hard labor is rough. Like everything comes at a cost. You just gotta try to do what's best and maintain your health. But like, I don't know. I've just noticed that where like there are other things that I would like to do sometimes, but I don't know that like I've done enough tough stuff to know that like there's not that much out there. Someone said, do the work you're happier with, not necessarily the more you make. This is the thing too. And like, I know this because I've pursued my passions. There's levels to how fun things are. Like I'll give you with music, right? Thank you to the person who said they love my channel. I appreciate you. With music, I love writing music. I love freestyling with my friends. I love doing live shows. I love live shows. I love performing. Like recording can be a little stressful, and like mixing and mastering a song because you're trying to make it sound perfect, and I'm very picky. So it's like not every aspect of it's fun. The music industry is not fun. The marketing of it is not necessarily fun. Like the business of it's not necessarily fun. So it's like, even if someone said your hats are too warm, I guess it's the summer right now. Like if you wait till the winter and you want them to be warm, it'll probably be better than like wearing it in the summer and being like, it's too warm. It's like, yeah, it's 90 degrees. Like take the hat off. I never said to wear them all the time, but if my head's warm, I take my hat off. But anyway, like nothing is what it seems. Like everybody thinks like, oh, I want to do this and that, like because it's so perfect. And it's like nothing's what it seems. Like not every aspect of being a musician is fun. Not every aspect of being an influencer is fun. Not every aspect of living on a farm is fun. But life is tough, and you pick what's best for you. So I think like doing what you love is fun, but when you do what you love, in order to make money, you have to like make it into a certain business model, and it's very hard to do something that like is completely fun. Like someone said your beanies are not too warm. I got one. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's a beanie. A beanie is meant to keep your ears warm. So it's like if it's too hot, then take the beanie off. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Someone said your hats get wet in the shower. Exactly, Alan. They absolutely do. They get wet in the shower. But I think like you got to make whatever you do fun and have fun doing it, but everything comes at a certain cost. So I've been listening to in my free time, like my new little thing I've been listening to is like, I found these little cool documentaries. They're like 15 minutes long. And a few of these content creators, they just make videos about rappers and musicians. And it's basically like, what happened to this person? Why did people get mad at this person? Why did this music artist fall off? Why is this rapper broke now? It's all stuff like that. And it's so interesting to me. And the one thing that I picked up off it is like all these gimmick rappers that I thought would fall off, they did fall off. All like, if you're not actually cool and you're not actually a good rapper and you're not actually likable, eventually people will stop liking you, even with all the marketing. So it's interesting to me to see that so many people, like they're in a bad spot now. And I'm not preying on their downfall. It's sad, but it's like things don't last forever. And in order to maintain in the music industry or anything, like you got to be honest with yourself. Like, for example, like Kendrick Lamar is a really talented rapper, regardless of what you think of him. I've known he's one of the best since he came out because I like rap. I rap. I'm big into poetry, lyricism. Kendrick's really good. His flow's good. His style's good. His lyrics are good. His technique is good. Like technically, if you talk to a rapper's rapper, Kendrick is a good rapper. With that being said, other rappers are not Kendrick Lamar. So if you got this trap turn up, yeah, boy, like maybe he'll be there in 10 years. But if you gave me a chart of 10 rappers, I could have told you 10 years ago, I didn't know Kendrick would drop a diss track and be so big, but I could have told you Kendrick's going to be really popular and all these lil rappers are going to fall off. And a lot of them did, not all of them, but it's like, you can't push a gimmick forever. And eventually like, cream will rise to the top. So I've just been noticing that sort of stuff about everything. And it's like, nothing lasts forever. Nothing's easy. And it's just interesting to me to like see the trajectory and the issues that certain people had and the obstacles they ran into. Cause there's a message there and a lesson there for everybody where it's like, even for me, like I've been doing this without another job since 2016. Not a lot of people have done it for this long. Especially like if you weed down like people that work for PBD or Daily Wire or somebody that can like bankroll them or give them the stuff, you take away all those, there's an even smaller list of people who've been able to be here this long. So it's like, even for me, it's like, how long is this going to last? Like, how long will people care? I'm grateful people care now and I'm doing just as well now, but it's like everything can fluctuate. Like I would say my numbers are as high as ever, but as far as the monetization, it's always changing. They're always doing this, they're always doing that. And I've been able to adapt and evolve, but I've always thought it to myself, but just like with rappers, the reason that I've been able to maintain is because I have a good work ethic. I'm authentic. I create all the content myself. So it's not like I'm on Blaze TV like Tommy Lahren and then I get kicked off and then I'm here. Like no disrespect to her, but it's like no one could take it away necessarily unless it's the social media companies, and then I could still do something. But I'm not really dependent on anybody else in order to do what I'm doing. But if you want to be here in 5 years, no matter what you're doing, you gotta really think about everything, because like the amount of people who will not be here in 5 years and able to sustain is going to be like 80%, 90%. It's hard to last. I'm listening to like musicians and people that I thought would be doing well, and they're not, because it's like people saw through their gimmick and they're just not interested anymore. My monetization changes as much as Kamala does. Exactly. It is at that level. What's my opinion on trap? You talking about like trap rap? I like the flow and the style and the beats, but to me, I like wise rappers. I like good rappers. Like, it's got to be good. And what makes a rap good is a lot of things, but like, I don't like shitty lyrics. Like, I just don't care about it anymore. So, if you're not lyrically talented and you're just rapping ignorant shit, I'm not that interested in it. Like, there was a time when I was, but right now I'm just not, because what I want to hear is rappers that say something that actually resonates with me. And it's going to be people that are saying things that are wise or honest, or even gangster stuff that actually makes sense. Like, I'm gonna hold my boys down, or like, what I'm saying, like, I got my squad, I'm gonna keep it real for my people. That's fine. I don't mind like gangster stuff, but it's like the real ignorant stuff, like I'm gonna rob a grandma, like that shit's, I don't like that shit anymore. Like, I don't like crime rap, like violent crime rap that's like just stupid. I don't like, personally. But there's a lot of things I do and don't like at certain times, so that's just my personal preference. I could, like, maybe one day I'll publish my playlist. Like, I got a playlist. There's different rappers I like and don't like. I go through phases. I don't just listen to the same songs on loop. So there'll be a summer where I got some things on my playlist, then another one. What about Lil Durk? Does he have that? Is that him in the song with J. Cole? Because I actually really like that song. Let me see. I think it is him. All My Life. I don't have that many Lil Durk things on my playlist, but I think All My Life is a great song because the hook is good. It's got kids singing, which is always fire. The message is good. Even Lil Durk's verse is pretty, pretty good. I would say like it's not like super ignorant. Like, he's talking about changing his ways, and like he has self-awareness in his verse, saying like, I'm focusing on my health and my wealth. I like that song. And obviously, J. Cole's verse is incredible on that song. So I don't have any other Lil Durk songs, but All My Life is, in my opinion, a great song. Great hook, great verses, interesting flow, good sounds. That's one of my more, I don't know if more favorite is a word, but one of my more favorite songs in the last year or so. You Sound Like I Would Have Loved De La Soul and stuff. I know all the genres. I mean, I like De La Soul. I like a few songs, but they don't really make my playlist. Like, at certain points, A Tribe Called Quest will make my playlist. I like Nas. I like Jay-Z. I know a lot of people don't like Jay-Z because of his politics, but his rhymes are very wise and his lyrics are very good. I like Jay-Z. Damian Marley. Obviously, Pete Rock is a legend. I didn't grow up in that time, so like all my OG homies, they love Cool G rap, they love Pete Rock and all that stuff. I'm not Slick Rick, etc. I'm not saying they're the legends, but on my very rarely did those songs make my playlist. And it's no disrespect; those are like some of the greatest artists and the trailblazers. But I like more than 80s rap. I'm not a huge fan of 80s rap. I like 90s rap, 2000s rap, recent rap. I'm not into like, and then I kind of go back, and it's like I like the Bee Gees and Hall and Oates and stuff. Like I like some soul and funk. I like reggae. I like some rock music and stuff, but I do like oldies stuff. I don't like 80s rap that much. To be honest, I don't even like 80s rock that much. I like the song like Take On Me. That's an amazing song. Take On Me. Like, but 80s music is all right. I don't know. I think the 70s were cooler, but Mobb Deep is fire. Yeah, rest in peace, Prodigy. I like Mobb Deep. Tribe Called Quest, incredible group. Yeah, I don't like 80s hair metal. Like Jump is okay by Van Halen, but that era, I'd rather listen to the Bee Gees than like 80s rockers. I don't like Kiss. I don't know. I'm not a hater of them or anything, but it's not my style. Rule the World was a hit. Nas he's got a lot of good songs. I think my favorite Nas song that's like really lyrical. I got to see the name of it because I don't know. He's got a lot of like hit songs, but it's called "What Goes Around." If you never heard it was made in 2001. I guess it was on Stillmatic, but "What Goes Around" by Nas is amazing. He actually talks about like vaccines and pharmaceuticals and stuff. Like it's very good song. Kid Rock. I mean, Kid Rock does great shows and he's got some good songs, but I would say he's a great artist in some ways, but as a lyricist, I don't know. He's definitely not the most lyrical person, you know? Like he's no Kendrick Lamar or anything, but he's okay. Hall & Oates, yeah, I love Hall & Oates. Rich Girl, Sarah Smiles, Certified Bangers. At any point in any party, I don't care if it's a rap party, an EDM party, you just turn on Rich Girl, people are gonna go nuts. Maybe not, but they should. Someone said Brian McKnight has one of the best live voices that I've ever heard. Did he do that song that was like, 1, you're like a dream come true, 2, just one? I think that was him, right? He definitely had the ladies going crazy in the 90s that on that R&B. Favorite Michael Jackson song? Probably the one that they censored and called, anti-Semitic. That one was fire. What's that one called again? I don't know though. I mean, I like a lot of his songs though, but that song was cool. That was like a very like political song. So I tend to go for like lyric. Like Michael Jackson's a legend, but outside of that song, like semi jokes aside, I kind of like "I Want You Back" by Jackson 5. I don't know if that counts, but I feel like that's one of the greatest songs of all time. Like I mean, I'm not gonna say like top 5, but I would put it top 20. And it's not the most meaningful song when it comes to like political stance or whatever, but "I Want You Back," just the vibe, the piano, the singing, the ad libs, like the harmonies, like "I Want You Back" is one of my favorite songs of all time by Jackson 5. So that makes my playlist more than any of his solo stuff. Favorite 90s boy bands? In the 90s, I liked, when I was really young, I liked the Backstreet Boys. Because my name is AJ and one of them is named AJ, and I don't know. I think they got me on that marketing ploy somehow. I don't think they meant to, but I was like, oh, I like him. I want to be like him. So I like the Backstreet Boys. And then I would say as I got older, I had like a Smash Mouth CD. I had a Third Eye Blind CD. I really liked Linkin Park. That was a game changer. I loved Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. I'm trying to think of the other albums I had. I liked the My Chemical Romance album at one point. I wasn't emo, but I almost thought about it because that album was fire. So I liked Eminem. But those are the like the 90s albums I remember. I remember I had the Third Eye Blind album when I was like super young. I had a Blink 182 album. I remember. I remember this. I did a book report in like 4th grade on the song Adam Song by Blink 182. I think I was really smart when I was a kid and like I wasn't basic even then. And I did the book report, and the song called Adam Song was about suicide. And they were like, you got to do a song report on it, like a book report, but on a song. And I did the whole thing about suicide. And they were like the teacher was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like I wasn't suicidal at all. And I was like a happy kid, but they thought something was wrong with me because I did my song report on that. Like everyone picked happy songs and I picked Adam Song, but it's a good song. And I had the album, and I guess I was just smart enough to know what the song was about, but I didn't really think about it that deeply. But they were like, why did you pick that song? I was like, I don't know. I got the Blink 182 album, and this song is very powerful. I still think it's like a really good song, like one of their better ones. But yeah, the teacher was like weirded out by that. I was like, my bad. Favorite Marshall Mathers album? Definitely like one of the first two. You know, I like probably the second one, Marshall Mathers LP. I think that's the best one, but I don't know. What about the Cranberries? No, they're classic. I didn't have their CD, but I mean, their hit songs are very good, unique. Like the Cranberries are a great band. Like the voice, the sound, like they're true originals. They were not just doing stuff that other people have done. How could you not like them? Thanks, Marilyn. I appreciate it. Let me see. They Don't Care About Us. Yeah, no, I just said that was my favorite song by Mike MJ. I said the one they called anti-Semitic because if people don't know, they said that song was like anti-Semitic and they made him change the lyrics and like rabbis were like yelling at him and then he did the video. Like if you find that video, he was like in the streets performing it and he was getting like yelled at by rabbis. They were like, change the lyrics of the I Don't Care About Us song. It's an interesting like little clip that I saw. But outside of that, this is like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like Michael Jackson was an amazing performer. I guess like the Billie Jean and all that stuff, those are good songs, but they just like never make my playlist. And it's not because they're not good. Like Michael Jackson was one of the best performers of all time. I just like Jackson 5 better. And I just like the vibe of the I Don't Care About Us song. It was unique and interesting. I'm not like the biggest fan of like Michael Jackson's greatest hits. Like they never make my playlist. But it's not like, obviously I'm not talking down on him. Just personally, like I'd rather hit him with like a Jackson 5. That's just, DJ Anomaly. I'm hitting him with a I'm hitting him with a and then people go like that. Come on. That's the GOAT song, in my opinion. With the Beatles, my favorite Beatles song is I think it's called Golden Slumbers. It's really short, but I like Golden Slumbers. I think that's like an iconic song. It's just like people know the Beatles because they had a lot of hits, but I don't think the Beatles were overrated. I think they were really good. Personally, I don't have like all their songs on my playlist, but Golden Slumbers I feel like is one of my favorites. He recorded that when he left the States. Yeah, everyone's got to leave the States at some point. No, I'm just kidding, but I don't know. Someone said Prince was way more talented. I mean, Michael, I wouldn't say Michael was less talented. I would say he was more mainstream and dancing and singing. I mean, Michael's voice was amazing. Prince was more artistic and unique, Like Michael was more generic with some of his solo music, and Prince was more creative and weird, And like, I'm not saying in a bad way. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I think Prince and like this is my analysis of Prince or MJ. I could see how someone likes one or the other, but like Michael's voice was incredible. Michael's dancing skills were incredible, and he made good songs. But Prince was trying to do more creative, artistic stuff. And Prince was like a little pimp too. Like he always had like he was like tiny, and he always had like 6 foot tall girls next to him. Like he'd show up in like a mink coat. He'd be like, "Hey, late," not like that. He didn't talk like that, but he'd be like, "What's up, boys?" And you're like, dude, like Prince was a wild. Like he was definitely a character. I like Prince and I like Michael Jackson. They're both like top tier legends. Someone said Prince wasn't weird. He was weird in a good way. I'm weird. I'm just saying like. I'm not saying, oh, he was weird. I'm saying like Prince was, I mean, it's hard to say he was weirder than Michael Jackson, but you get what I'm saying? Like he tried to make weirder music in a good way. I'm not saying in a bad way. Just like he wasn't trying to do like Billie Jean. He's like, how do I get really creative with the instruments, with the songs, with the lyrics? I think he was trying to be more creative than Michael Jackson in some ways. But MJ, his voice was just incredible. You ever seen the video when MJ's singing that song with all the other singers? And he looks over and they all suck. And he's just like, you guys are fucking terrible. I think it was called like, What is the World? Or one of those like big UNICEF weird songs they do. MJ like crushes it. He's like, well, the world. And then all the other people are like, they sounded like me, like Sydney Lauper sounded like trash. And Michael Jackson just looked at them and was like, you could tell he was just disgusted. He was like, I'm so much better than all of you. I shouldn't even be here. Like, you guys are just destroying the song. Yeah, that's one of my favorite videos. I love watching him just like, all of you are trash. Yeah, we are the world. Exactly. Find the video of Michael Jackson singing it and then everyone else sucking and him just looking at them all. Sydney Lauper sounded terrible. I don't know what she was doing, but that was, she sounded like me at karaoke, like after 5 margaritas. So, but I'm not a singer, like if I ever sing good, I'm grateful for that moment because it's not my strong point. I'm not the worst, but I'm not I'm not known for my singing voice. Frank Sinatra, obviously a legend. He just Frank Sinatra is a vibe that like was never recreated. Like his style, his voice, his sound, just classic Italian legendary music. Trump loves Frank Sinatra. He always talks about it. Someone said too many commies on here. Relax, Robert. We're talking about music. We could have some commie music people here. We'll bring the commies and the left wingers and the right. We can all come together at the end of this long live stream and have a conversation about music. Okay, commies invited, Trump supporters invited. Even Tim Walz can come with his dog or whatever. JK said a bunch of us went to Vegas. Thank you for the super chat. He said a bunch of us went to Vegas with the crew for my 21st. We were at Hard Rock Pool Cabana, and Travis Barker was next to us all day. He couldn't swim because he was on crutches, so we took shots. Cool guy. Thanks, Anam. Lunch on me. Thank you, JK. I appreciate it. You're by far the best super chatter of all time, and that's cool that he was cool. It's always fun seeing people. Someone said Outkast had quite a few songs. I love Outkast. They're one of my favorites. Aquemini, the album, is my favorite. Spody Odie Dopalicious. That's a legendary, unique song. Outkast is the shit. Let's see. We can all listen to Billy Ray Cyrus together. I remember the Achy Breaky Heart song because my mom listened to country, and I just remember that was on the radio all the time. I don't know any other song by Billy Ray Cyrus besides that and the one with Lil Nas X, but maybe he had other songs too. Someone said Anomaly, watch the 2005 NYC, MJ, and Jackson 5. That sounds awesome. The Clash, legendary. They're definitely great band. A lot of good songs. Someone said if we had to care about politics of every artist we listen to, we would have a very small playlist. Well, so, Gnarls Barkley, excuse me. Someone said Gnarls Barkley. I loved Gnarls Barkley. I tried to see them live, but I had to leave before they came on stage. I love that album. What was it called? Saint Elsewhere. That album was so good. I love not just the crazy song, but like that whole album smashes to me. Here's my thing with people with politics. Like how annoying are you politically? If you're like the worst person in the world, I don't care about your music anymore. You annoy me. If you're not that bad, like how good is your music? Jay-Z is like, people always get mad at me for this, but like Jay-Z is that person. His wife is more political than him. He's political, but he kind of does it behind the scenes. Like he definitely seems more Democrat than Republican, but his music is not like liberal and annoying. Like he says really smart stuff and he's a good rapper and he evolves. Like there's a lot of edgy stuff that he said that people don't even know that he said. Like, you know, there's like, I know a lot because I'm a hip hop head, but I like Jay-Z still. I don't hold his politics against him, but it's not like I'd follow him in an alleyway and vote with him or join his label. You know, like it's just, as a fan of rap, I'm not mad at Jay-Z. Like, I don't know. People are, but I like his music. He's got hits in every era, and he continues to just like always evolve and put out music that appeals to me. So his politics don't make me not want to listen to him, but other people do. Is the Blue Man Group Democratic? They're definitely blue enough. I don't know. Probably. They can't talk, so they can't even like have an opinion, but probably if they talk, they'd be like, vote for Tim Walz. You're like, what did you say? He's like, nothing. All right, just making sure. Someone said, my nephew is married to a UFC fighter. She's teaching at a high school now in Oklahoma. Her nickname is Too Sweet Sarah. Well, good luck to Too Sweet Sarah. You want to go to the late party admitted, Anam? What's the late party? I don't even know. What is that? I don't get what you're referencing. Someone said, I like the one where he says the N-word. Yeah, that song's great, right? Which one is that? There's like 100. It's just funny. Like, yo, I like that rap song where they say the N-word. You're like, what? Like, which one? You're like, you know the one I'm talking about where he, like, he just says it. Like, yeah, you gotta be a little more specific, bro. I'm losing you here. Someone said, let me hear your playlist. Well, if I play a single song off my playlist, I get immediately like taken down. The funny thing is I can't even play my own music. If I play my own song, they'll be like, you just played a song. It's my song. I own the song. Like, it's such a hassle to play any music online, even my own song. They just take my revenue and then give it to me in a different place. I'm like, okay. And then they'll like, you know, be like, don't do this again. I'm like, I'm going to do it again. Literally every time I drop a new song, I'm going to post it. So at some point, try to like figure that out. But they just have AI and, you know, it's like a process, like artificial intelligence. Then it goes to some stupid liberal. and then maybe eventually gets to like a normal person that like gives it back to you. Yeah, they flag crazy. Like can't do, it's so hard to do anything, but it's because I run my music through like TuneCore and DistroKid, and they have their own process for trying to like give you the money, but I don't even care. I don't even care who like plays my song. It's just like, just stop doing that. I'd rather people play my song and be able to play it and get no money than them censoring it. Like I don't want them to do that. Like if you use my song in your video, that's good promotion. I don't need the money on every video, but they hassle every video and try to give me the money. So then nobody wants to use the song. You know, like why would you want to use a song that you can't use? So I know what they're going for, but I'm not asking for it. I'm just like stop doing this. I don't know how to stop it though. I'm not that involved. Let's see. Someone said 90s make me think of Matchbox 20. Yeah, Matchbox 20 was awesome. I was just having like a moment like a couple weeks ago where I was just with somebody and we were just hanging out listening to 90s music. Like I was throwing on all the classics. I'm gonna give away my little like a little inside like one of my I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favorite 90s songs, but it's my favorite karaoke song. I like the song 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies. Like that's a fun 90s song, but anytime I do like karaoke, if they have that song, that's like one of my go-tos because it's such a funny rap that like everybody's like, what? But people tend to really enjoy it because it's really fast and I could hit all the lyrics and stuff. But that song I like Bare Naked Ladies, not like, you know, that sounds like perverted, but it's a band, you know. They made their band that because they thought it was funny. They're like a Canadian band, but it's my favorite thing out of Canada. Let me see. Gwen Stefani. I mean, she's cool. She's not like my favorite, but she's definitely a legend with No Doubt in her solo stuff. But I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not into women music that much. Not literally, but you get what I don't know. Like Holla Back Girl was not a song for me. You know, No Doubt, Don't Speak. That's a good song. But when she started getting like bubblegum pop, like I'm not the target audience. Like imagine if I was like Holla Back Girl is my favorite song ever. It's like, all right, dude. You know, I don't think that was for you, but I guess if you like it, that's cool. If I Had $1 Million, yeah, that's a good song by Bare Naked Ladies. 1 week, you know, it goes, it's been 1 week since, and then it's like chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. You had a drumstick in your brain. I don't want to rap it, but if you don't know it, you got to catch me at karaoke sometime, which is random. Probably won't happen, but. What is baggage in my opinion? Baggage like for the airport or with women, or what are you talking about? Like like what is baggage? Like, oh, that woman has baggage, or like what is baggage? Baggage, like it's like Alex Trebek, and I'm like, baggage is a, you know, item, usually a suitcase that you take on a plane. I don't know. Goo Goo Dolls, I had that album too. That was a good album. I definitely had that in the 90s. Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, they started out really hip hop and then they became more like EDM, but Fleetwood Mac, legendary, obviously. I'm not reading that comment. That's crazy, but someone said, I wrote a few songs, but really enjoying playing melody. Music's a fun thing. Like everybody likes some aspect of it. You like playing it, you like listening to it, you like driving in your car and listening to it, going to a concert. I like music. I like performing. It's my favorite thing to do. Like performing with Trapped because they actually have big audiences and stuff that I don't do that many shows solo. That's like my favorite thing. Pop up there, get some stage time, big crowd. It's a good time. It's just music is a good time. Listening, dancing. I don't dance that much anymore. I don't know. Maybe I should do that more. When I lived in LA, I would dance all the time because DJ Akira the Don, shout out Akira, he used to play at this place called No Vacancy. And Akira the Don is awesome. He's a great guy. And he just happened to be in Hollywood when I was. So I would go there every weekend and just dance for hours. Like just kill it. Kill it on the dance floor. Get my cardio in. You know what I'm saying? Just vibe out. Just get my groove on. And then, yeah, those days are gone though. COVID killed those days. And then I think he got like deported or he left the country to get a visa and he couldn't get back. And then they ruined Los Angeles. So reminisce. Stevie Wonder. Yeah, I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan. My dad used to listen to Stevie Wonder all the time, so I like a lot of songs by him. Obviously, Superstition's a great song. Sir Duke is a great song. Living Just for the City is a classic. Pastime Paradise, which was sampled for Coolio's Gangster's Paradise. That song's incredible. Yeah. I mean, Sign Seal Deliver, that's an obvious banger, but Burning Man, I've never been to Burning Man. I don't know. I would dance at Burning Man, but I don't I don't know. Isn't it in a desert or something? Like, and then like everyone's like, I'm getting dirt in my face, but it's still fun. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want dirt in my face. Have I heard of the streamer Mark Rebele or Haley Knox? Yeah, they're both incredible. Mark is really good with the improv songs. And yeah, that I think the Haley Knox chick, she plays like the loop thing like him. I think I've seen her. Yeah, they're both fire. Like anybody that's that talented, it's undeniable. Regardless of what you think of the content, like they're both just super talented and super like do it yourself. I love that stuff. It's hard to hate on that. Hold on one second. I'm gonna block this guy because he keeps just spamming like weird shit. It's just like just weirding me out a little bit. Let me see. All right, this guy's got to go. Sorry, buddy. Hide user from this channel. Like you could say what you want. I don't give a shit. But if you're like spamming the same weird thing like 100 times in a row, it's just kind of creepy. All right. What did I think of the Jordan Peterson, Tommy Robinson interview? Yeah, I'm not going to listen to that. I don't. I have zero expectations for that. I don't trust Jordan Peterson or like him that much. And Tommy Robinson, I'm guessing it's just like some sort of like Zionist conversation about like some fake Republican, like, way to like lure Republicans into thinking something that doesn't make sense. So, Tommy's done some cool stuff. Jordan's done some cool stuff, but personally, I'd much rather listen to the Tucker interview that he just did than I can't listen to Jordan Peterson and Tommy Robinson talk for 2 hours. That's tough for me. But Jesse Lee Peterson, hilarious. He's a funny guy. Thoughts on MIA as a person or as an artist? As an artist, super talented, super creative, like very good. I think she produces a lot of her stuff too. As a person, she seems interesting. I don't know much about her, but she seems like she's pretty outspoken. So I like her on both fronts. Someone said, are they both? I don't care. Like, it's not about people being pro or anti this. I've been in the game long enough, and I'm not trying to throw accusations at people or anything, because I hate when people do that to me. But it's just like, I figured out who's who at this point, and it's like, if it's going to be two people that I think are basically kind of phony in some ways, I just don't care about the interview. Like I know I get who Jordan Peterson is at this point. I've seen Tommy Robinson's the role that he plays. Like I get it. It's not, I'm not saying everything they do is bad or wrong, and but like, do I want to sit and listen to those two interview? No, to me that sounds like not something that's going to be intellectually stimulating or like overtly honest. But it's whatever. I don't dislike Tommy Robinson, but like I don't trust him. I feel like he's the same thing Jordan Peterson is to America, where it's like they're trying to brand British nationalism as Zionism, and Tommy, like, it's like they want them completely inseparable. So, find me someone British that says the same things, that doesn't do the things that Tommy does, and I might listen. I don't care what his foreign policy is. I don't care if he likes Israel. It doesn't bother me. Everyone has their own opinion, but they're doing the same thing to Britain that they're doing with America, in my view. Whether, it's just like they're trying to me, it's like the Ben Shapiro of like nationalistic, like British activism, where he's right about some things. I get that he wants Britain to be Britain, and like I agree, but it's like it's the way they tangle the two together that it just comes across as very not authentic to me, I guess. That's just my personal opinion. No disrespect, not saying everything's bad. I'm sure there's some gems there, but like, I feel like Jordan Peterson, he's the same way. He's so sneaky now. His politics suck. He's good at what he used to do, but now he's becoming like a Ben Shapiro and like a, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just like a phony. But someone said I thought Tommy was just anti-immigration. I'm not going to say what he is or isn't. Like he can decide who he is and tell you, but I've seen enough where I'm personally not interested in the interview, and I know what they're doing. I see what they're doing, and it just doesn't appeal to me personally. I don't want to listen to the combo. But he like everyone's entitled. He's entitled to his opinion, his foreign policy, what he wants with Britain, what he thinks about our relationship with his. Like everyone's entitled to their thing, but once again, I'm just 5 years ahead of the curve, and everyone will know what I'm talking about in like 6 years. So I'm not trying to argue or put somebody down because I'm sure we'd get along, and I'm sure he's done a lot of interesting, great stuff. And Britain does have a lot of problems, and he talks about a lot of them. But I don't, it would be like if someone said to me, like Jordan Peterson is just a psychologist who's trying to, fight back against liberalism. He used to be that. Now he's a Daily Wire employee who's basically copy and pasted Ben Shapiro's version of Zionist nationalism or whatever as his entire ideology. And he falls for gun control and he falls for COVID. Like Jordan Peterson to me sucks. He's great at what he used to do. And now he's becoming a politician and a news host, and he's sneaky and he's dishonest. And I dislike Jordan Peterson as much as I dislike Ben Shapiro. I don't hate him. They do some good things, but I don't trust Jordan Peterson at all. And the fact that his daughter made a video and said she literally supports censorship on X because she got ratioed by anti-Semites, like everything I thought years ago, I'm just right. I don't know what to tell you. It's like I don't need to explain myself. I don't want to put people down or seem like I'm being rude or over the point, but like I already know what he's about and I'm not interested. And to me, from what I've seen, it seems like Tommy's doing the same thing with England. And it's the same thing with like Rebel News and like Ezra Levant. Ezra Levant is like the Tommy Robinson of Canada. He does great work. He does a lot of great stuff, but he's a Zionist firster and he goes ballistic over that topic. So it's like his little role is to make sure that all the nationalist Canadians and not all of it, but at least that infrastructure, it has to serve a different purpose. So it's like in my opinion, like a giant misdirect. So Rebel News has done a lot of great work, but since the war broke out, Ezra Levant is acting as crazy as Ben Shapiro. Tommy, I've seen some of his stuff. I don't watch enough to really care, but like, there's a reason he's talking to Jordan Peterson because he's the Jordan Peterson and Ezra Levant of Great Britain, to give you a lot of that, and then make sure that it funnels you to the direction that they want to funnel you in. That I'm not interested in going there. So. I'm not trying to start any problems or anything. I'm sure he's a great guy, but like, come revisit what I'm saying now in 4 years and see how much it makes sense or doesn't make sense. All of my stuff, go watch what I said in 2020. Why do all my videos age well? Why does everything I said during the pandemic, why does like almost every single, if not every single video, why does it all age well? Why is it, can you compare it to Dan Bongino or Ben Shapiro or any of these people? Compare our work in 2020 and 2021. Well, I'm not saying to literally do it because it would take forever, but watch everything and then tell me whose age is better. It's because I'm not lying, because I'm not playing a game. I'm not a phony. I'm not doing things for any other reason. Like, it is what it is. Some people get it, some people don't. But Jordan is very popular and he's earned his popularity, but he's not who people think he is, in my view. And it's not like a personal jab. It's just he's serving a foreign policy agenda, and he's playing a role that is far beyond the scope of what made him famous and popular and what he was actually good at. Jesse Lee Peterson's dope. I don't watch him all the time. He's funny. He's interesting. And Jesse plays a certain role for sure. I don't think Jesse Lee Peterson is a fake opposition. I think Jesse's authentic. He is who he is. You might not like everything Jesse says, but I think he's he's one of the good ones for sure. Jesse's he's just being himself, and he's being weird, and he's doing too much, and he's not like even when he does stuff that you disagree with, I don't think he's doing it for some agenda. I just think Jesse's doing it for what he wants to do. Jesse's pissed me off before, but I don't consider it like, oh, he was doing this or that. He's just Jesse. He's just he's just fucking around, being a troll sometimes, doing this, doing that. But overall, I like Jesse a lot. I think he's hilarious. One of my favorite One of my favorite interviews of all time is Jesse Lee Peterson talking about White History Month to some black liberal from the Young Turks. I think that's the funniest conversation. He's like, he talks about BLM and he gets kicked off because he calls them like radical lesbians or something. Like, this shit is so funny. Jesse, his comedy is underrated. Like, he's not joking, but at the same time, his comedic timing is very good. Like, yeah, I like Jesse. Now Jesse, like, he's, everybody plays a role and that's his role. This is just my opinion about even Tucker Carlson. Like, why do you think the Ben Shapiro types and the Seth Dillon types, why are they getting mad at Tucker Carlson? Tucker plays a different role too, but he's a net positive. I truly believe that Tucker is doing good stuff that is important. Not all the time, but enough. I don't criticize Tucker, because he's doing things that make the Ben Shapiro types mad. Seth Dillon is a Ben Shapiro type. Jordan Peterson is now a Ben Shapiro type. And that's my perception about like a Tommy Robinson too. He's kind of in that category to me. I'm not saying he's exactly the same, but it's like those types I'm not really interested in. I'm not interested in someone who makes their whole life about anti-censorship for the Muslims and for this. But then when it comes to anti-Semitism, they cry anti-Semitism all the time. That's not appealing to me. Like, whatever, you can support Israel and not be that person. But once I see people like calling everything anti-Semitic, it's like calling something racist. Like, do you know how stupid that looks in 2024? Explain why the Palestine people are wrong. Explain why the liberals are wrong. Explain why the far right is wrong. If you can't explain and you just call things racist, you sound stupid. Like, saying anti-Semitic is saying racist. Like, if you said like, hey, there's a really high crime rate in this neighborhood and it just so happens to be this race, and someone says you're a racist, like, you sound like an idiot. You sound like a liberal. You sound like someone who's lying. And it's the same thing with anti-Semitism. Explain yourself. You just got to call it, like, anybody who does that, which is the Rebel News types, the Ezra Levant's types, the Jordan Peterson types, the Tommy Robinson types, the Seth Dillon types. These are not people that I could take seriously. You notice that Tucker Carlson barely does that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just doing what he's doing. And he said, I like Israel. I visited there. Like, Tucker's not anti-Israel. He's been to Israel. He probably enjoys it. He thinks it's great, but he's just not a liar. So then, when it comes to that topic, like, all of the Ben Shapiro, Seth Dillon types just start raining down on Tucker because, God forbid, he shows an alternate perspective to Winston Churchill. It's a domino effect that they know is going to happen that they're trying to prevent. So it's like, is it really that bad to say that Winston Churchill was not as good as what Western media said? No, it's not a big deal. I don't give a shit either way. Like, I don't take history that seriously to the point where, like, I'm going to like have a meltdown because someone disagrees with me. But at the same time, you understand, if you realize that Winston Churchill was sneaky and dishonest, now that's a huge, like, you're told that Ronald Reagan's amazing and Winston Churchill's amazing. If he wasn't amazing, now you're starting to revisit all of the history at that time. You're starting to look into everything. And the more you look into it, the more you're going to start disagreeing with Ben Shapiro and Seth Dillon. So they don't want you to hear that sort of stuff. So it's like, it's a huge threat to their ideology. The fact that Tucker Carlson's willing to have somebody on that is not just sugarcoating like Western, versions of history. And I don't know whether Winston Churchill was a good guy or not, but I could look at the country over the last 50, 60 years. Like, I've studied enough about the civil rights era and these things to know that, the bipartisan truth that they tell is not really true. You'll listen to like Democrats and Republicans. They'll be like, MLK was this, because nobody wants to talk about MLK in a bad way. I mean, he's rest in peace. He's dead. His cousins and nieces and nephews are great, and you don't want to disrespect their grandfather. And like, I understand why no one want to do it, but Chad Jackson and Uncle Tom too, and those documentaries that have been made, they show the alternate history of like what really happened. And it's not saying he's necessarily a bad guy, but he was part of an agenda that a lot of things did not go in the direction that they went. If that solved everything, why are people saying that racism's worse now than ever? Why are these neighborhoods so dangerous? Why are these cities so much worse? Why are people still complaining? Why is poverty still increasing? Why, like, there's still so many problems. So I feel like, you understand, it's just like, I've revisited everything. Like, I don't really care what people think, but like, they don't want you to revisit any part of history, because even if you're Democrat or Republican, you're just supposed to believe, like, you know, yeah, I'm a Republican, but this guy was good, and I'm I'm a Republican, and like, you don't want to get that deep. They just want you to like be like, they're the real racist, and we're the party of Martin Luther King. It's like, okay, maybe, but that's like the generic Republican Democrat stuff. With me, it's just like, okay, I figured this out without anybody telling me. I didn't have to watch any alternative documentaries at first. It's like, this is what I figured out really early on, or maybe not early on, but at some point. Okay, so we won World War II, right? Just like what they told us, we won World War II. So then I looked at the United Nations, and it's like, when did the United Nations start? It started after World War II, around that time, and it was with China and Russia. And I'm like, wait, we like, just off the face of what we learned, we helped communists win, and then we called China communist, but then we established some global unelected government with China and Russia and all these countries. And it's like, so we helped the communists win? And they're like, well, yeah, but then we beat communism. But now Russia's not that communist, and we are more communist. So it's like, how did that happen? How did Russia was communist, and now they're like more Christian and more, and now we're more communist, but we used to want to fight communism, and like that ideology the US government was like totally opposed to. But at the same time, they wanted to work with them to beat Germany in World War II. So like, just off the face of it, it's like we fought and beat communism and then established a global communist unelected government to make decisions around the world with communists. Like, it's just like, it's just random. Like, and then it's like, okay, it's the same thing as like, I'm not saying what happened was good. I'm not suggesting that. Like, anytime you question history in America, they'll be like, oh, are you saying slavery was good? Are you saying this is good? No, of course not. But what I am saying is, I am saying that things are not that great in these neighborhoods now. So like, let's not act like they're amazing. So after all this stuff happened, these neighborhoods are dangerous, crime filled, shitty. Nobody wants to live there. It's not prosperous. So what's going on? And it's the same thing with like Germany, like post World War II, like it's very liberal. It's very like socialist. It's very like, they have speech censorship, and like American Republicans don't look at Germany like, oh, look, it's the bastion of free society. They look at Germany like, yeah, it's better than it was. But at the same time, it's like run by some like commie woman, and it's super left wing. So it's like, and then Russia was communist, but now it's not communist. Germany's like liberal now. Like, things like flip-flopped, of course, but I'm just saying, it's just like this idea, they want you to think that we won World War II and like every bad problem went away. It's not true. It's the same thing as the civil rights era. Like, oh, we made this legal and everything's great again. It's like, it's actually on both sides of the race equation. Both races are suffering. So how did that fix the problems when there's still problems today, and in some cases worse problems? So, any logical person is going to revisit this history, but there's going to be people that don't want you to revisit the history, because if you revisit the history, you're going to come to conclusions that they don't want you to come to. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. No offense. Sorry about my language, but I don't give a fuck about Winston Churchill. I don't care. Like, if you said he's the greatest person in the world or he's the worst person in the world, I don't give a shit. Like, I really don't care what you think about Winston Churchill, but why do people care so much? Why is it so important to a Republican that you think that Winston Churchill was amazing? Because it's a domino effect to you realizing how much shit they lied about, probably, So it's like, they don't want you to notice that, because that, like, they'll tell you MLK was amazing, Winston Churchill was amazing, Ronald Reagan was amazing. I'm not saying Ronald Reagan wasn't amazing, but it's like, didn't he do the abortion stuff? Didn't he greenlight millions of illegals and give them citizenship? And now California has never been Republican, since they lost the demographic game. Didn't Ronald Reagan, do the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act? Like, Reagan was popular. The whole country liked him, but he did some things that didn't go in the direction of Republicans today. But like, I guess, that's like, everyone's going to say like Trump never did, like he was the greatest president ever. Like, he really wasn't though, but the competition sucks. So maybe you could make a thing for it, but it's a hard thing to realize. I'm somebody that thinks this, because I have a lot of followers, and like I I'm not somebody that only has like white friends or something. So I'm not coming at this, and I don't give a shit who you're friends with, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not coming from this as an angle. Like, I'm just sitting with my white friends and we believe these things. I have black friends. I have Muslim friends, Arab friends. Like, I have people all over the place, and like, real is real and fake is fake. It doesn't matter what race you are. The truth is the truth. A lie is a lie. Real recognize real, and fake just keeps it moving. With that being said, I believe that race is an issue that's not going away. I know they want it to go away. I know the right says it's not a problem and the left says there's too much racism. But I believe, as somebody who studies society and makes decisions and tries to be ahead of the curve, I believe race is going to be a way bigger issue than people realize, even if you don't want it to be. Demographics are going to be more important and more meaningful than people want to admit that they are. And these sort of trends are going to hit America harder than people want to. So I'm trying to think about it way ahead of the curve, because I'm just good at pattern recognition and just like analytics and stuff. And it's like, I know people want to think that that's not important, but it is. And like, if you go to certain black neighborhoods, like, race is important to them. When it comes to, Jewish organizations in Israel, race is important to them. You know what I'm saying? They test your genetics in order to get a citizenship. Like, if you're Jewish ethnically, you get a free trip to Israel based off of your genetics. You know what I'm saying? Their country's based off of the genetic. Like, it is what it is. I'm not even knocking other people, but it's like, only like white Americans and Europeans seem to just think that like it's not anything, and everyone else is like China thinks race is important. I'm not asking you as an individual to care so much and be racist or be hateful or anything, but it's like, it's this demographic shift game that's being played, where it's like only one group seems to be completely oblivious about it. And the Republican Party, they're just like generically like, we don't care. Of course you don't care as a person, but if you look, and this is just like the reality of the situation, if you look at demographics in America and statistics and stuff, you're going to notice certain patterns, and certain people don't care and certain people do care. Like, certain people, they want to live around a situation that's familiar to them, and certain people don't, of all races. They'll always point out when white people talk about it, but at the same time, every race thinks this way. It's just only white people get demonized for actually, doing what everyone else does. But like, to me, it's just like, I look everywhere around the country. Like, I just look at like crime rates and be like, what's the crime rate? What's the crime rate? Like, let's see, what's this like? What's that like? You'll notice certain patterns when it comes to demographics of like, what's the safest place in Florida? What's the safest place here? What's the safest place? Just look it up yourself. Like, I don't give a shit what people think or what. It's like, it's just, it's definitely a pattern. Like, so, people will all say like, oh, don't say that or whatever. And then everybody's going to think that way in 10 years, because like, as things shift more, tension is not necessarily going to go away. I wish it would. I think it's possible. I think it's possible for all the races to come together and have success. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but at the same time, it's possible with a certain government and a certain media and a certain culture. And we don't have those things. We don't have the government that would make it work. We don't have the media that would make it work. And we don't have the companies that would make it work. In fact, the media is trying to make the races hate each other. The government is trying to favor certain races over others. And I would argue that certain groups and certain media organizations, they hate your race. Like, they want your race to be lower, like statistically. So it's like, if they're doing that to you and you can't even talk about it because it sounds racist or whatever, it's like, I'm not dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe to a fault. So it's like, we all have problems, but I see the writing on the wall, and it's like, nobody wants to think about that or talk about it. But talk to me in 10 years. Everyone's going to be talking about it. Everybody's going to be thinking about it. It's going to be so blatantly obvious that you can't not talk about it, because we can have all this stuff that we have in this country, but only if the media is not working against us. If we're trying so hard to make racial unity and make this work and be like, we don't care what race it is, you need law and order to, like, you can't have crime rates. You can't have certain demographics committing like so much violent crime to the point where everybody knows it, but you can't talk about it. You can't have certain ethnic groups passing speech laws for themselves and saying that you can't talk about their foreign policy because it's anti-Semitic. You can't have a government that's favoring certain races over another race. Like, the whole country is not going to work that way. So like, I'm not, as somebody that can get along in social settings with everybody, it's like, the only way that this country works with all of this, demographic shift that it's going through is if the government was doing ethical, moral stuff, the media was doing ethical, moral stuff, and the companies were doing ethical, moral stuff. None of those things are happening. In fact, just analytically, like if you ask me what's the worst possible thing the media could do, they're not doing a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. They're doing like a 0 out of 10. Like the media is doing everything they could possibly do to get the racists mad at each other, everything that they possibly can do to make the crime go higher, everything that they possibly can do to make thefts rise. Like they're going out of their way to fuck it all up, because you could see around the world that there are cities that are multiracial that work because they're strict laws. Like Dubai, they don't fuck around in Dubai. You know what I'm saying? Dubai's safe. They don't care if you're Jewish in Dubai. They're Arab. They don't give a shit. You got money? Come to Dubai, Habibi. You know what I'm saying? They don't care if you're black. They don't care if you're white. They don't care if you're a woman. But follow the fucking rules or else you can't. So there's not a lot of theft because they'll fuck you up if you're stealing shit. In America, no one's getting fucked up for stealing shit. So everybody's just stealing shit. All the liberal cities, even in Texas, theft, rising, steal your catalytic converter. Just a bunch of fucking thieves running around the country. That's what's going on. Everybody fucking knows it. It doesn't matter what race you are. You see it too. Why is it happening here? Because everybody's so weak on it. I'm not saying to do exactly what they do in Dubai, but it's like Dubai can have racial unity because they don't allow theft. America is just a giant fucking ghetto at this point. Everyone's getting robbed everywhere because nobody, like, they have no law and order. They have it sort of, but like it's way too easy to do. So it's like, whether people want to think about this stuff or not, it only works if you really have a strict moral code. We don't have that. And we don't have a media on our side, and we don't have a government on our side, and we don't have a corporation on our side. So it's like these the racial tension is gonna keep increasing. And you could just tell by certain patterns that like certain trends are not going to go away. Like obviously the economy sucking does not help with crime and everything. It doesn't help. But if you go to like Japan, like I heard one time, and no disrespect because I know he's just winging it and he does a lot of podcasts, but Joe Rogan one time did a podcast and he said, I had to leave LA for Austin because, LA, it's falling apart and there's just too many people. That's just what happens when there's too many people. Yeah, but also Tokyo disproves that. Tokyo has more people, and why is it so safe? Because it's all Japanese people for the most part, and they have a strict moral code. They follow rules. They don't throw food on the floor. I mean, I'm not acting like I'm above it. I would go to Japan and they would look at me like I'm an animal. You know what I'm saying? Because their culture, like I'd be eating, walking and eating, and they'd be looking at me, be like, you're an animal. Like throw that shit in the garbage or sit down. Where when you go there, you have to follow the rules, and they don't want you making anything dirty, and they don't want you standing out of line. There's pros and cons to that. I'm not saying they're all pros because there's cons to Japan too, but it's not the amount of people. It's not like, oh, LA sucks because there's a lot of people. There's more people in Japan and it's safer, cleaner, and for the most part nicer. Why? Because that's their code. And the demographics of Japan are like 90 plus Japanese. So it's mostly Japanese people. They follow order. And then when other races come to Japan, they don't give you a pass to not follow. You have to follow the rules too. It has nothing to do with the amount of people there. Everybody just says this and that. It's culture. And the truth is, in America, I mean, there's a lot of things and there's a lot of historical things you could point to, but at the end of the day, it's being facilitated. It's being facilitated by the politicians. It's being facilitated by the government. It's being facilitated and promoted by the corporations. And then when it comes to family, which is things like Chad Jackson and Larry Elder talk about, like a strong black family or a strong family in America, the families, not all, because I don't want to stereotype, but it's like in certain cultures, like not only would society not allow it in Dubai, not only would your family not allow it, not only would the government not, like nobody's allowing it. So you can't steal in Dubai. You can't do that in Japan. Nobody allows it. In America, everyone allows it. The family will make excuses for you. The community of your race will gatekeep and be like, the crime wasn't the problem. The people talking about the crime is the problem. The government will facilitate it. The news will facilitate it. It's like this, our entire society is trying to cover it up and act like it's totally fine or it doesn't exist or there's some other problem. There's other problems. There's bank problems. There's this problems. I'm not just blaming one group or one person, but like we got to be honest about all of these things and fix them. How could we be honest about it when you have half of the country that thinks that theft is okay? They think that robbing people, stealing people, beating people, they don't care that it even happens unless it happens to them. They're like, well, that's this, that's that, that's this reason, that's that reason. It's because it's allowed. It's allowed by the family. It's allowed by the government. It's allowed by the police. It's allowed by society, and it's allowed by the media. You know what I'm saying? If the family said, what the fuck are you doing? Get back inside, like a lot of cultures do, it wouldn't be happening. If any one of those things or half of these things were in the right direction, we could live in a country that didn't have that much theft and crime. But it's just so easy in this country because the media will justify it. You probably get a television show off it. In certain communities there, it's like everyone's like, oh, I don't even see the problem. Really? I could talk about my race. I'll tell you all the problems. Like you don't see that problem. I'm not saying you have to blame yourself or blame your race or blame your community. You could talk about economic factors. You could talk about this. But you don't see the problem. You think it's okay for all that to be happening? Because here's the truth too. All that stuff is not doing shit. It's not making anything better. It's not like it ends you up dead or in jail. Your community sucks. It goes down the shit. You know what I'm saying? Property value and stuff goes down. People move out, and you're not making any sort of significant social impact. Like it doesn't help you. It doesn't help any, like, it's not like that's the right move to become successful. It's like, that's just going to keep fucking it up over and over and over again. And all the celebrities that represent that culture, they just say, it's fine. If it's so fine, why don't you do it? Because you know that's not how you got the money. That's not how you got the fame. You got the money and fame by acting right, but you don't want to tell anyone else to act right. You want to just say like, oh, I don't even see it. Of course you see it. That's why you moved to a fucking different neighborhood. You see exactly what's going on, and you couldn't live there because even though you're LeBron James or whoever, if you're wearing expensive stuff, you're just as much of a target as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody just acts like they don't see it, or it's not. It's like, you wouldn't act that way yourself. Why would you justify or allow other people to act? You can have compassion and sympathy and empathy and talk about all the problems while also being like, yes, there are all these problems, but you got to stop doing this. There's a lot of problems in Tokyo. I'm sure there's economic problems as well in this, but like people don't cope with it by like making everything dirty and shitty. And it's like, I've seen, I've been in multiple different neighborhoods in New York and Los Angeles and etc. And you could tell in really, really bad neighborhoods, like just the vibe. It has nothing to do with this or that, but the vibe is like, I got somebody said they were going to kill me in a bodega in New York when I was like 22. He's just like, when you go outside, I'm going to kill you. Is that normal? I don't care how poor you are. Drop me off in any poor country in the middle of the woods. Is that normal for someone to be like, I'm going to kill you when you walk outside this store? Why? What did I do? Well, you just don't look like you belong here. All right. Well, luckily I didn't get killed. But in general, it's like, then they're threatening the bodega owner. It's some Indian guy. And he's like, I'm not joking when I say this. Like the bodegas in bad areas of cities are worse than war zones. They're literally worse than like Ukrainian cities. They're doing like EDM concerts there. So it's like in general, it's like, how is threatening the bodega owner in your neighborhood 50 times a day by different people? How is that helping your situation? How is that getting you out of the situation? How is that retribution? Like maybe you want to own the store, not the Indian guy, but like, what the fuck did the Indian guy do? It like the Indian guy doesn't run the banks. The Indian guy doesn't run the government. He fucking barely speaks English, and he just found a decent job or a crazy job for good money. It's like, that's not getting up the totem pole. Like you're mad at society and the cops. What the fuck does the Indian guy have to do with that? But this is just me being honest. It's like, it's not a that or that issue. Everybody always tries to minimize it and just be like, oh, it's just this, it's just that. Then why is that the vibe in a lot of these stores? Because it's like crazy attitude, bad attitude, just people that don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about their neighbors. They don't give a fuck about this. They don't give a fuck about that. It's just bad. It's just like, and then a real leader would be like, listen, we're going to get out of this, and we're not going to act this way because it's only keeping us down. But the thing is, in certain neighborhoods, that's why it's worse than it was 30, 40 years ago. There's other variables to it as well, but one of the biggest ones is like you can't make people want to live there. You can't make people want to keep their businesses there. For example, like downtown LA is so bad, multiple businesses just said peace, and it's like, where are you going? Why the fuck would I stay here? It's disgusting. It's dirty. There's crackheads. There's homeless. There's people shitting on the streets. There's people robbing cars, shooting people every day. Why the fuck would I want to stay here? I'm Starbucks. I could go anywhere. We can we're not even making money anymore because people can't even walk the streets. It's like, why do liberals not ever talk about cleaning that up? Like nobody gives a fuck about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? It's hard for me to really like really fathom, but it's like it's a deeper issue than people want to say. And you could talk to all the variables and socioeconomic stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to just be honest about it and be like, how do we stop this? It's got to come with attitude as well. And I'll say this about rural America. I've said it too, just to be fair. It's like, you could wear a Trump hat, you could talk about the Democrats, this and that, and a lot of it is economic too, and jobs moving and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, God gave you this life, God gave you this body, God gave you what he gave you. It doesn't matter if you're 50 Cent and came from the hood or someone from rural Alabama. And at the end of the day, a lot of white America, they don't respect themselves. Like, everybody's getting overweight, they're eating like shit, they're drinking too much, and they don't give a fuck about their kids that much. And it's like, if you really want to stick it to the system, it doesn't matter if you have a Kamala Harris hat or a Tim Walz hat on. Why don't you get in shape? Why don't you show a good, a good example for the future generations? Why don't you care more about your kids and do that? Like, there's things that you can do even if you're poor or middle class. Like, just because you're poor, yeah, it's hard and it's difficult, but life is difficult. At the end of the day, it's like, do you want to win or do you want to lose? Everybody complain. Black people can complain about white people can complain about the elites, and everyone has valid criticism. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are we doing to get better? And nobody really wants to do shit. That's the problem with America. You could look at UK and be like, oh, the UK is getting taken over by Muslims and brown people. It's like, and what are the white guys doing in the UK? They're drinking beer, getting fat, and watching soccer. I like soccer, but it's like, why do they not give a shit? You know what I'm saying? It's not everyone else's fault all the time. If 80% of your population is liberal and drinking beer and not giving a fuck about the future generations, like, of course you're going to get conquered. It's the same way, what happened to Native Americans here and how America took part of Mexico. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but like, when people complain about that, Republicans and white people will say like, oh, well, we took the land and it's America now. And it's like, okay, sure. Or we took part of Mexico. It's ours now. Accurate, literal. But now that's happening to Britain. You know what I'm saying? Like, the same shit that you justified and said was okay because it was America that pissed off black people and Native Americans and Mexicans. Now it's happening to white places. And the people are saying the same thing to you. They're like, oh, well, and they're doing, and it's part of it's kind of true. I'm not being rude or justifying it, but it's like, I see in America and in Britain and in Europe a bunch of people that don't give a fuck, and a bunch of people that don't give a fuck get I don't give a fuck results. Same with Canada too. It's like, where are the men? Where are the people getting in shape? Like, America, I don't care who you are. Everyone's talking about this or that. Why don't we all get in shape? Black, white, you're going to lock, people in the cities in their houses and telling them you're helping them by giving them vaccines, but you won't let them like walk outside their apartment in Brooklyn. Like, the whole system is fucked, and it's fine to point some fingers at people when they deserve it. But I think Black America and white America, nobody wants to face the man in the mirror. And in the Black communities, they don't want to tell people to act right, and they don't want to self-observe the problems that they keep making on loop and the crime rates, etc. And then in the white communities, it's like they're just, I don't know what they're doing, but it's like the obesity is just astronomical. Way too many people are addicted to pills. And, watching television, whether it's Fox News or CNN, that's not going to fix this shit. And these politicians don't even care that much. So, and then Britain, they're like, we're getting replaced by Muslims. Yeah, because you're all drinking alcohol, watching, Tottenham Spurs, and you don't even care about your own son. Like, that's what happens to some fucking loser who just drinks and watches other men play soccer all the time, but doesn't even make time for himself. I like sports. I love watching sports. I like playing sports. There's nothing wrong with watching sports, but it's called priorities. You know what I'm saying? You're going to watch sports and know everything about sports for fucking 80 hours a week, but then you talk to your son 1 hour a week, or you know what I'm saying? You don't even care if he's getting fat and he's going to school and he's a liberal. And like, of course your society is going to get taken over by Muslims, because Muslims are going there and they're having more kids. Like, it is what it is. I'm not, I just feel like, I know that rant went a little sideways, but really in America, the whole race thing is going to become a bigger problem, in my opinion, in 10 years, because we have the media, the corporations, and society working to scramble it up and mess people up, while you have different ethnic groups not willing to be completely honest. And, it's like, this is my perspective. Everybody talks about equality, but if you treat people equally, they get pissed off. It's like the people that are screaming equality the most, they want a leg up. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain groups, they pass speech laws. They don't want equality. They want lopsided laws that benefit them. If they get equality, they're going to scream hate speech. Other communities too. It's like they want equality, but they don't want to play their part in equality, and they don't want to equally like chill out on some things that are really not great. And then it's like, then it could work. And then, it's just like everybody's being so fake about it. And then the politicians, they say like, I don't care about race, or the Democrats will say, I do care about race. And the truth is, the Republicans and Democrats, they're just puppets. Like Kamala's going to say what she has to say to win with her voters. Trump's going to say what he has to say to win with his voters, right? It's like, how much do they care? As much as they don't get in trouble. But at the end of the day, it's like they're serving their donors. They're serving the bankers. They're not working for us. They might give us something, and Trump might pass a platinum plan for a certain race or whatever. He might throw some bones at some farmers. Like, I'm not saying they're going to do nothing, but at the end of the day, it's like they're not going to rock the boat on this topic, because it's not smart as a politician to rock the boat on this topic. Like, it doesn't go well, like even in Britain is mostly, at this point, I think it's probably going to be mostly brown and Muslim soon, but I think it's probably still mostly white, right? I don't know. Let's just say Britain's mostly white. A politician can't talk about race in that way, because even most of the white British people want to hear liberal version of race talk. So it's like the politicians adapt to the population, because it's like you can't be a white, a British guy and win the election, because most white people in Britain are pretty like liberal and cuck. So it's like, even in populations that have different demographics, like it doesn't work. In America, it doesn't work for multiple reasons. One, yeah, you have a majority population, but I would say over half of white people don't want to hear that shit. Minorities, or, whatever you want to, I don't even like using the word because it's like demeaning, and it's like, population shift. So it's not always going to be a minority, but in general, it's like, they don't want to hear that shit. So like Trump can't say anything, and Kamala can only pander to the left, but maybe that doesn't work for her. Maybe enough people are like seeing through it. I think so. I don't know that it's ever going to flip completely, but I do think that a lot of people are starting to see through the Democrats' tricks a little bit. Only one way to find out, but I think more people are seeing through it. But nobody can say, like, as a politician, your job is not necessarily to like keep it real. You're just like balancing the books, like think of a politician, whether it's Trump or Kamala. I almost called her Hillary, but Kamala, they're in the middle, right? This is Trump. These are the bankers. These are the people, right? This is Kamala. These are the bankers. These are the people. They're a middleman. Their job is to go to the bankers and go to the big donors and go to the money makers and be like, and then they look at you and then they say, Trump does it like, make America great again. Yeah. Like farmers rock. And then Kamala does it and she's like, woo, black people, Mexicans. I have a rap accent now. I don't. Who am I? And it's like they're both kind of doing the same thing. I like Trump better. I think he's better, but that's like their job. Their job is like they're not really going to do that much. They're a middleman. Here's the money. Here's the people. Trump and Kamala are the people that are supposed to be able to talk to the people and convince them that they're not doing what they're doing. They're smooth talkers. Kamala's just not that smooth. She's okay, but like most real smooth talkers, they don't want to do that. People say that politics is ugly Hollywood. Why? Because these are the ugly actors that were often not Trump because he was crushing, but like they're ugly. Look at Kamala. She used to like hang out with little like threesome things with like Montel Williams. It's like these are ugly actresses or untalented actresses who can't. I'm not saying necessarily she wanted to, but that's the old joke. They're ugly Hollywood people that want to act, but they're not good enough to get in. Who wants to be a politician? Kamala's not a good actor. She's okay. She's not terrible, but she's not like great. Be a politician. You're not going to make it in Hollywood, but you can act on stage between the bankers and the people and get that money and power, not through like Tom Cruise, but you can get it, And Trump, I don't know what his real passion was, but he was crushing it. Like he didn't have to do anything. He was very popular, very successful. So he makes a way better politician because, he's way cooler. So it's like he's even more tricky because like he's actually kind of cool, actually really cool. He's like a top tier cool guy. So now he's doing the same thing, but it's like, oh, he's not doing it because he's cool. No, a cool person makes a good politician. Obama made a good politician. Reagan made a good politician. This is JFK for a while was a good politician. Like, these are the best politicians because they're actually cool. They're actually likable. And until people figure that out, I don't know. It is what it is. But I just think that, like, I'm going to end on this note because it's almost 4 hours. It's been like a mega stream. In order for anything, like if this country is going to work, and I've said this before, but I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart and soul, this country is already very multiracial. If it's going to work like this, people got to be honest, and the media needs to chill the fuck out. They're not chilling the fuck out. The government and what the corporations are doing is all lopsided, and it's not even, but it's not a victim mentality. It's that way because people allow it. No one can make you be a bitch. Excuse my language, but no one can make you be a bitch. Like, you choose to be a bitch. So whether it's in England or America, it's like, I'm not asking people to be annoying or loud, but at the end of the day, like, I'm saying this right now because I really believe it. No one can make me fucking be a little, oh, I'm not going to say it because I want a job. Now you're a bitch. Now you're like a little worker bee, right? And they're going to treat you like that. So we got to be honest, and nobody's being honest. Okay. So then it's just not going to work. It's not that it's like going to completely backfire, but it's like, you look at societies, and I'm not saying they're the model society, but you look at places that have a lot of people and are safe, or they're multicultural and safe. There's a huge commonality to Dubai. I'm not asking to be Dubai. And Japan. Japan is ethnically mostly Japanese, so it's not multicultural that much. Dubai is a lot more multicultural, I think, of a city. What are the two commonalities that make them actually safe and clean and nice? Yeah, there's money there, but it's not all the money in Dubai as well. It's the culture and the law and the fact that it's just simply, it's a no-no. You're not going to do this. You can't do it. It's not possible. We're not going to allow you. Japan, they're a little more passive aggressive with it, but like, you're not going to trash the city. Everyone's going to look at you like you're crazy. In Dubai, it's the government that'll probably crack down on you. In Japan, the government and the people will crack that. Like, you don't even need the government to do that much because the people are so obedient to the culture and to the cleanliness and to the safety that they'll do some shit before the government even gets there. In America, we don't have either of those two things right now working properly, so it's not going to work. Like, and there's people on the right that say this and that, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But it's like, in my opinion, I'm not saying like anything's impossible, but it's like me running for president and being like, I'm going to win, or RFK saying he's going to win. You want him to win. You want me to win, but I'm not going to win and he's not going to win. You know what I'm saying? So people got to be realistic because, like, a lot of people, and I'm not knocking it because everyone's entitled to their opinion and their perspective and their vision for the country. And I'm never going to put people down and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are role playing. A lot of liberals role play. A lot of the further right role plays. And I'm not saying you can't think certain things, but it's like, if you're just saying them and you're like in group chats with your buddies, just saying, like, it doesn't matter because it's like, in order for anything to actually be a thing, enough people have to believe in it and the leaders have to believe in it. So it's like, it's a hard thing to accomplish or get there. But I feel like most people, they're just like, they're like fantasizing what they wish it was in their head. It's like, yeah, and I wish I was Scooby-Doo and I had a big truck and I went around solving mysteries, but I'm not Scooby-Doo. I'm a human being and that's not who I am. So it's like, let's just be real about it. In America, there's definitely ways to make it better. There's definitely ways to like preserve our sovereignty and get back to traditionalism. But like, it's like, it's easy to just say what you want. And then it's like, well, yeah, okay. But that's like 30 years too late. Like, if you wanted to do that, you had to convince people of that 50 years ago. Now it's a little too late. So it's like, what is the path to success? I mean, it's debatable and I could see certain things, but this is just my prediction in a non-disrespectful way. Nobody wants to talk about race now except for liberals, and conservatives don't. Most people will start thinking about it because whether they want to or not, that's the trend that everything's going and everyone's thinking that way. So people are going to think about it more as diversity comes in more. And when white people become a minority, they're not giving white people like minority privileges. They're not going to flip the scales and start giving you more scholarships. That's not on the agenda, in my opinion. Okay. And then it's like with everyone else, it's just like, what would make it safe then? If things are going to be this way, what would make America way safer and cleaner? You got to give a shit. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to get this in politics and I don't know the solution, but like, I'm convinced if you gave me, and I know they wouldn't want to do this because of whatever, but if you let me be the mayor of Los Angeles and gave me the authority to do whatever I needed to do, I know that might not be possible in America, but it's not that hard to clean up Los Angeles. It could be a great city. It's got a lot of great infrastructure. It's got a huge economy. It's got a lot of great and innovative and cool people in it. You just have to do 5 things right, and the whole city would be better. El Salvador flipped themselves around. There's cities in other countries that are amazingly safe with more people. You got to drop the law. We're going to make this a great city, but you can't do this shit. You can't steal. You can't rob. Can't shit on the streets. Can't live on the streets. All of this is done today. You know what I'm saying? And then heavy enforcement. And it would slowly go away over time, because if you make people so afraid to do evil shit, then they're not going to do it. When you make it easy, you bail them out of jail. So many of these people, they have 4 different charges, but they just keep getting out. They're coming from other countries over the border. Now they got a gang in here. It's happening in Colorado. It's way too easy in this country. That's the only thing that's going to fix it. But it's people have to want to give a shit. And the problem is, this is my last thing I'm going to say. Trump is, if he wins, he's busy and he's not that guy. He'll do some shit, but he's got a million things to do. Think about Trump. Trump's got to try to stop the Ukraine war, finesse Israel, Palestine. That alone is a full-time job. He doesn't have the time to think about us brokies. You know what I'm saying? Trump's a billionaire. He pisses in a golden bucket. The guy's been rich his whole life. He doesn't give a fuck about me or you or some black guy in the city or some white rural person or some white kid in the city. I'm not saying he even has to. He just doesn't even think about that shit. And everyone's like, oh, he's thinking about me. He's not thinking about shit. He's thinking about big level stuff. He might do something for a farmers or a tax cut. That's all you're getting. He's not doing that much. To fix a whole city or a country, it involves everybody else on local levels and in general, just really thinking about how to fix it. But it's a really tough dynamic because there's 2 factors. One, all the big cities are run by Democrats, and when they fuck up, it fucks up everywhere in the state. I heard Wisconsin's getting worse, California's getting worse, the nice areas are getting worse, LA is getting worse. When you're so bad in your area, everybody can travel now. They don't just have to stay in your city. So everybody's just fucking over the whole country because Democrats can't run the city right. So, Republicans, if they give a shit, this is another problem. They don't give a shit. They're fake opposition, and they don't want to rock the boat too much because they don't want to get in trouble and seem crazy. But if they actually wanted to fix stuff, they just have to really strategize about it. And there's not a lot of innovation in the Republican Party. Elon Musk is innovative. I don't care what you think of him. He's innovative. The El Salvador president, he's innovative. Ron DeSantis, I'm not saying he's your best friend because he's definitely sneaky and fake in some ways, but he was doing things that were innovative in his state that no one was thinking about. And it's because he's thinking. El Salvador's president, he thinks. The guy from I'm saying Elon Musk, he thinks. Trump, these other politicians, I'm not saying they're nothing, but they're just going through the motion. Greg Abbott, he doesn't think, he just does shit when everyone else does it. Most Republican politicians are whatever. It takes someone really strategizing. You know what I'm saying? What are the Democrats doing? It took them 5 years, 4 years, 6 years to start sending illegals to New York City. I'm not saying it's the right idea. It's probably smarter to just deport them if possible. But the same way they sent them to New York City, what would they do if you deported them? Would they come arrest you? Is the country going to stand if you're deporting illegals and they arrest? You could try that. It's ballsy, but you could try it. Even the sending them to cities and stuff, I'm not saying it's the perfect move, but it is an interesting move. If they're playing chess and they're sending all these people to you, just start sending them to them. And then Eric Adams in New York starts freaking out. We don't have the capacity. What's going on? We don't have, where are we going to put them? What do you think's happening in Yuma, Arizona? What do you think's happening in Texas? This is the shit they're dealing with. They're not racist. It's just you can't get 6 million random people. What do you do with them? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work that way. You got to have a process. So it's I'm not saying that's the perfect move, but it is a move. At least doing a move is okay, now you change the game a little bit. That's my issue with Republicans is they're just I'll pass a platinum plan. Okay. I'll say it's bad to do theft. Okay, but they're still going to Republican areas and doing it. So how are you going to counter that since you're not countering it? I know people in the Republican areas of Texas, they're getting cars stolen. They're getting, they're getting their catalytic converters stolen or however you say it. It's it's not working. You're not really fixing the problem. Like, how is Dubai able to do it, but you can't do it? Like, how are they able to stop crime so much in America? I don't know the answers, and maybe like America doesn't want to go there, but it's possible. But like it's just difficult. So I feel like, I can't tell you the exact solution, but I think when everybody sits around and just like waits for like Trump to fix it, it's never going to get fixed. When they sit around and think like Republicans care, sort of, and I'm not asking anybody to do anything, but it's like, these are just the ways I'm thinking, where like, this is my prediction. Like, I like America. But even when I was like 20 years old, like, you could find old songs of mine, rap songs, where I'm talking about how politicians are erasing the middle class. And now it's happening. When I wrote these songs, like when I was 20, like 15 years ago, and I said, like, I have this one song where I'm literally like, they don't care about our race. To them, we're just another Skittle pack, a different bunch of different colors they could swallow up like a little snack. They're getting rid of the middle class, like the fiddler better fiddle fast. I don't remember the exact lyrics, but like, you could tell, like, I was trying to like tell people, I was like, they're getting rid of the middle class and they don't care about our race. They're scamming us all. But I was doing it with triple rhyme schemes, like an MC. But anyway, it's like, I saw that happening, and now it's literally happening. Like, so I'm not a doom and a gloomer, like life is good, but it's like 10 years ago, I'm like, they're erasing the middle class. And that's what they've almost essentially done. There is no middle class. You could buy a box in freaking, Los Angeles for $900,000. Like, you're either broke or you're super rich. There's really like no in between. And if you're like kind of rich, now you're middle class. Like, that's what it is. Like, you're not, I think even people that would traditionally be really rich or middle class, people that are extremely rich or elites, and then people that are middle class are broke, and people that are broke are super broke and on government handouts. Like, they fucked over the whole economy. Okay, so what's the next 10 years going to be like? I'm not pessimistic, but that's my personal unpopular prediction is crime is going to get weirder, and people are going to think about race a lot more. And then like, there's going to have to be some real conversations, and or else America's just going to suck really hard. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. Everything always, comes around and goes around, and there's been cycles in countries and economies and hyperinflation to better economy. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, America's dead. That's not what I'm saying. But the same way 10 years ago, I was like, they're going to destroy the middle class. And luckily, I'm busting my ass, and it's like, this economy sucks, and this country is very scammy, but I'm still grateful to be here. It's still better than most. With that being said, that's my prediction. I'm not trying to scare people or doom and gloom, but it's like, you've already seen it, where it's like the cities that used to be livable are unlivable, the streets that used to be safe are unsafe, and now middle class areas that were traditionally safe are getting less safe. Wealthy areas are being targeted, like Beverly Hills, because they know people have Rolexes and fancy cars, and they're wearing a $50,000, $100,000 watch. And when someone's broke, they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's happening all the time, everywhere. And nobody's talking about it. It's like so common, like extraordinarily common. And like 95% of the country has no idea. Luckily, I don't have that type of shit. So I'm not going to say I don't care, but like, I don't wear $50,000 watches. I don't have $50,000 watches. I don't even think it's cool, especially in this economy. So it's like, I'm not a target, but that is happening. So it's like, where's it go from here? Do you see crime just disappearing? I don't like this trend's just, why would it go away? There's got to be a reason that it goes away. It's not just going to like go away randomly. Like, oh, the economy's fixed. That'll only help a little bit, not a lot, because that's not necessarily the root cause in my view. So it's like, this is where I see the country in like 5 or 10 years. I see it getting to a point where it's almost like, if you go to like Dominican Republic, you got to stay in the really nice area to be safe. And if you walk around in other areas, it'll be all right. But like, it's not, you got to watch your back. That's America. That's it now. It's going to get worse. And I think that the places that are going to be really safe are the super rich places, and they're going to have to up security, and they're going to have to do more than they ever did, because it's not going to be as safe as it used to. Or just living somewhere remote that's rural, where the demographics are so small or lopsided, where it's like a place that's too cold that nobody wants to go. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, they don't even like, it's not like on the radar of like people that have never gone there, because it's like North Dakota or something, where like nobody even, like, not the major city, but like some random side town that's just like hard to get to. I'm not saying I want that to happen, but it's like, I literally think that's going to happen. So I'm kind of planning accordingly. Like that's what I think is going to happen. I would love for the cities to be amazing again. I used to love New York City. I used to love Los Angeles. I don't anymore, you know, and I don't see it making a comeback until things get so bad that there's like a whole culture shift in America and everybody starts being like, okay, we need to make this better. I don't know how long that's going to take, but that's my what is it called? Non-politically correct opinion. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. This has been a mega stream, and I'm probably not going to do one tomorrow or the next day. I might edit some videos and do other stuff, but I'm enjoying my Instagram reels and TikToks, even though they get deleted sometimes on TikTok. And nobody pays me for it. Like, it's not business-wise, it's not the smartest thing to do. I've realized that I do like streams like this once in a while, but I like doing the short videos, and they're really effective. Like, it's not the smartest thing to do business-wise, like I said, but I feel like it's reaching the most people, and I like doing them in the morning. I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to do a lot more reels and shorts and stuff. So if you guys like that, I hope you do. Personally, I'll just say this. Like, I definitely think I'm good at podcasting, and this has been a great stream and stuff. But I like, if I were to analyze my own career, like, I think I'm really good at the reels, and I think it's easy to consume information that way. And like, I stopped doing them because they don't pay, and I'm like, well, who cares? It's just Instagram. Like, what's the point? But I'm starting to enjoy it more, and I think like I just think I'm better at it. So I don't want to like not do something that I'm good at just because like Instagram's being weird and TikTok deletes me. TikTok apparently pays people now a lot, and like they deleted my thing. I can't say anything about pharma, so it kind of like takes the fun out of it. You know, like if I'm like, for example, like if I post a video and my whole account gets deleted, like after vacation, that happened with TikTok. It's stressful. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, they just stole $800 from my account that I never cashed out and just deleted my page. Like it's not, it makes it not fun. You know, it's deeper than just like, oh, I'm not getting money. I just need money. It's like working, like, what's the point of putting in so much time for that? And then you just delete my account. And now I'm just making it for Instagram. It's like, they kind of killed the fun of it, but I'm enjoying it now. I'm back to the fun. So yeah, TikTok is super annoying to me personally, but appreciate you guys. Have a good day. Let me know what you think in the comments, and check out dreamrare.com, a beanie. And I need to do a disclaimer. Apparently they're too hot. So that's what somebody said. Others said they're not too hot. If you're hot with your beanie, take the beanie off. And if it's really cold and your ears are cold, put the beanie on. And if you're Tim Pool, never take the beanie off, apparently. You know, that seems like something he doesn't want to do. Or maybe take it off to shower. But anyway, unsolicited advice, not important. Disclaimer, I'm not a financial expert. Have a good day. Sorry about that. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk. For $5 a month, you can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description, or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying. So I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com, that's DreamRareLinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for